to get things in my computer. Yes, we are now being live streamed. So welcome YouTube. This is the Instant Shakespeare Company reading of the third part of Henry VI, which is part of our big Shakespeare history, well, Shakespeare and others history projects going from Edward II to Richard III. And this was all sort of conceived by Stephen Brown. And this is very exciting. My name is Paul Sugarman. I'm the founder of Instant Shakespeare. And Paula Hoza is the Playmaster for this reading. And so over to you, Paula.
Thanks, Paul. This is a continuation of all the action that we had in part 2. It's a pretty rollicking play, so hang on to your seats. And let me now introduce our group. As I said, I'm Paula Hoza. I'm playing Queen Margaret. Clinton.
Hello, I'm Clinton Powell. I'm reading King Henry VI.
And our first Bill Grueneberg.
Hi, Bill Grueneberg. I'm reading Duke of York, Richard Plantagenet, that is, and also the father who killed his son in battle. Not looking forward to that scene, I don't think. And finally, oh my God, I can't read it, and I've forgotten his what house is he from? The one other character. Have you got it there?
Oh,
I should know this. I'm so sorry.
The Earl of Oxford.
Oxford, of course. Great place of the great universe, the Earl of Oxford.
Eduardo.
Hello, hi, I'm Eduardo Perez. I'll be playing Edward, to be King Edward IV.
Woohoo. David.
I'm David
Brown.
Peter.
Wrong
Go
David.
ahead.
That's okay. We have two Davids. We have two Bills.
Okay.
Go ahead, David Cedar.
I'm David Cedar. I am reading The Duke of Exeter, Humphrey, a gamekeeper, John Mortimer, and a messenger. I think that's it.
And our other David.
My name is David Palmer Brown, and I am playing the Earl of Warwick.
Ren.
Hello, I'm Ren, and I will be playing Earl of Northumberland and Duke of Somerset.
Jesse.
Hi, I'm Jesse Aftel. I am playing Prince Edward, son of King Henry VI, Earl of Rutland, the son who killed his father, and a soldier.
Jesse, hey. Wow. Good
Hey.
to not see you. Hey. We went to school together, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Drew.
Yeah, I'm Drew Bolander, and I am reading George, Duke of Clarence.
And now our other Bill.
Hello, I'm playing Baron Clifford, formerly young Clifford from the last play, I believe. Anthony Woodville, a second Earl of Rivers, Lieutenant of the Tower, Sir John Montgomerie, and the second messenger, the most important one.
Of course.
Yes.
Angus.
Hi, Angus Hepburn from Edinburgh, leading Lord Hastings, Ralph Neville, the second Earl of Westmerland, Gabriel, the Yorkist messenger, first keeper, Sinklo, and Somervile.
Ken.
Kenneth Wayne, I'm doing the Marquess of Montague, a huntsman and third watchman.
Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Gehring. I'm doing Norfolk, Tudor, Yorkist messenger, nobleman, mayor, messenger, and location announcements.
And Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Sheffrin. I am reading Lady Grey, who becomes Queen Elizabeth, and Lady Bona, sister to King Louis.
Okay, I think we are about ready to start. So let's all hang on to our seats and get going.
Yeah. Yes.
This is Henry VI, Part 3, by William Shakespeare. Act 1, Scene 1, London, the Parliament House.
I wonder how the king escaped our hands.
While we pursued the horsemen of the north, he slyly stole away and left his men. We're at the great Lord of Northumberland, whose warlike ears could never brook retreat, cheered up the drooping army and himself. Lord Clifford and Lord Stafford all abreast charged our main battle's front, and breaking in were by the swords of common soldiers slain.
Lord Stafford's father, Duke of Buckingham, is either slain or wounded dangerously. I cleft his beaver with a downright blow. That this is true, father. Behold his blood.
Is that me? I'm trying to find the script. Trying to find the place. And brother, here's the Earl of Wiltshire's blood, whom I encountered as the battles joined.
Speak thou for me and tell them what I did.
Richard hath best deserved of all my sons. But is your grace dead, my lord of Somerset?
Such hope have all the line of John of Gaunt.
Thus do I hope to shake King Henry's head.
And so do I, victorious Prince of York, before I see thee seated in that throne which now the House of Lancaster usurped. I vow by heaven, these eyes shall never close. This is the palace of the fearful king, and this his regal seat. Possess it, York, for this is thine, and not King Henry's heirs.
Assist me then, sweet Warwick, and I will, for hither have we broken in by force.
We'll all assist you. He that flies shall die.
Thanks, gentle Norfolk. Stay by me, lords, and soldiers, stay and lodge by me this night.
And when the king comes, offer him no violence, unless he seek to thrust you out perforce.
The queen this day here holds her parliament, but little thinks we shall be of her counsel. By words or blows, here let us win our right.
Armed as we are, let's stay within the house.
The bloody parliament shall this be called, unless Plantagenet, Duke of York, be king, and bashful Henry deposed, whose cowardice hath made us bywords to our enemies.
Then leave me not, my lords, be resolute. I mean to take possession of my rights.
And neither the king, nor he that loves him best, the proudest he that holds up Lancaster, dares stir a wing if Warwick shake his bells. I'll plant Plantagenet, root him up, who dares. Resolve thee, Richard, claim the English crown.
My lords, look where the sturdy rebel sits, even in the chair of state. Belike he means, backed by the power of Warwick, that false peer, to aspire unto the crown and reign as king, Earl of Northumberland. He slew thy father, and thine, Lord Clifford, and you both have vowed revenge on him, his sons, his favorites, and his friends.
If I be not, heavens be revenged on me.
The hope thereof makes Clifford mourn in steel.
What? Shall we suffer this? Let's pluck him down. My heart for anger burns. I cannot brook it.
Patient, gentle Earl of Westmerland.
Patience is for poltroons such as he. He does not sit there, had your father lived. My gracious lord, here in the parliament, let us assail the family of York.
Well, hast thou spoken? Cousin, be it so.
Know you not the city favors them, and they have troops of soldiers at their back?
But when the Duke is slain, they'll quickly fly.
Far be the thought of this from Henry's heart, to make a shambles of the Parliament House. Cousin of Exeter frowns, words, and threats shall be the war that Henry means to use. Thou factious Duke of York, descend my throne, and kneel for grace and mercy at my feet. I am thy sovereign.
I am thine.
For shame, come down. He made thee Duke of York.
It was my inheritance as the earldom was.
Thy father was a traitor to the crown.
Exeter, thou art a traitor to the crown in following this usurping
Whom
Henry.
should he follow but his natural king?
True, Clifford, that's Richard, Duke of York.
Shall I stand and thou sit in my throne?
It must and shall be so. Content thyself.
Be Duke of Lancaster. Let him be king.
He is both king and Duke of Lancaster, and that the Lord of Westmoreland shall maintain.
And Warwick shall disprove it. You forget that we are those which chased you from the field and slew your fathers, and with colors spread, marched through the city to the palace gates.
Yes, Warwick, I remember it to my grief, and by his soul thou and thy house shall rue it.
Plantagenet, of thee and these thy sons, thy kinsmen and thy friends, I'll have more lives than drops of blood were in my father's veins.
Urge it no more, lest that instead of words I send thee, Warwick, such as messenger as shall revenge his death before I stir.
Poor Clifford, how I scorn his worthless threat.
Will you we show our title to the crown? If not, our swords shall plead it in the field.
What title hast thou, traitor, to the crown? My father was, as thou art, Duke of York. Thy grandfather, Roger Mortimer, Earl of March. I am the son of Henry the Fifth, who made the Dauphin and the French to stoop and seized upon their towns and provinces.
Talk not of France, since thou hast lost it all.
The Lord Protector lost it, and not I. When I was crowned, I was but 9 months old.
You are old enough now, and yet methinks you lose. Father, tear the crown from the usurper's head.
Sweet father, do so. Set it on your head.
Good brother, as thou lovest and honorest arms, let's fight it, not stand cavilling thus.
Sound drums and trumpets, and the king will fly.
Sons, peace.
Peace thou, and give King Henry leave to speak.
Plantagenet shall speak first. Hear him, lords, and be you silent and attentive too, for he that interrupts him shall not live.
Think'st thou that I will leave my kingly throne, wherein my grandsire and my father sat? No, first shall war unpeople this my realm. I and their colours, often born in France and now in England, to our heart's great sorrow shall be my winding sheet. Why faint you, lords? My title's good and better far than his.
Prove it, Henry, and thou shalt be king.
Henry the Fourth by conquest got the crown.
Was by rebellion against his king.
I know not what to say. My title is weak. Tell me, may not a king adopt an heir?
What then?
And if he may, then am I lawful king. For Richard, in the view of many lords, resigned the crown to Henry the Fourth, whose heir my father was, and I am his.
He rose against him, being his sovereign, and made him to resign his crown perforce.
Suppose, my lords, he did it unconstrained. Think you 'twere prejudicial to his crown?
No, but he could not so resign his crown, but that the next heir should succeed and reign.
Thou against us, Duke of Exeter?
His is the right, and therefore pardon me.
Why whisper you, my lords, and answer not?
My conscience tells me he is lawful king.
All will revolt from me and turn to him.
Plantagenet, for all the claim thou lay'st, think not that Henry shall be so disposed.
Deposed he shall be, in despite of all.
Thou art deceived. 'Tis not thy southern power of Essex, Norfolk, Suffolk, nor of Kent, which makes thee thus presumptuous and proud, can set the Duke up in despite of me.
King Henry, be thy title right or wrong, Lord Clifford vows to fight in thy defense. May that ground gape and swallow me alive, where I shall kneel to him that slew my father.
Oh, Clifford, how thy words revive my heart.
Henry of Lancaster, resign thy crown. What mutter you, or what conspire you, lords?
Do right unto this princely Duke of York, or I will fill the house with armed men, and over the chair of state, where now he sits, write up his title with usurping blood.
Lord of Warwick, hear but one word. Let me for this, my lifetime, reign as king.
Confirm the crown to me and to mine heirs, and thou shalt reign in quiet while thou livest.
I am content. Richard Plantagenet, enjoy the kingdom after my decease.
What wrong is this unto thy prince, your son?
What good is this to England and himself?
Face fearful and despairing, Henry.
How hast thou injured both thyself and us?
I cannot stay to hear these articles.
Nor I.
Come, cousin, let us tell the queen these news.
Farewell, faint-hearted and degenerate king, in whose cold blood no spark of honor lies.
Be thou pray unto the house of York, and die in bands for this unmannerly deed.
In dreadful war mayest thou be overcome, or live in peace abandoned and despised.
Turn this way, Henry, and regard them not.
They seek revenge, and therefore will not yield.
Exeter.
Why should you sigh, my lord?
Not for myself, Lord Warwick, but my son, whom I unnaturally shall disinherit. But be it as it may, I here entail the crown to thee and to thine heirs forever, conditionally that here thou take an oath to cease this civil war, and whilst I live to honor me as thy king and sovereign, and neither by treason nor hostility to seek to put me down, and reign thyself.
This oath I willingly take and will perform.
Long live King Henry! Plantagenet, embrace him.
And long live thou, and these thy forward sons.
Now York and Lancaster are reconciled.
Accursed be he that seeks to make them foes.
Farewell, my gracious lord. I'll to my castle.
And I'll keep London with my soldiers.
And I to Norfolk with my followers.
And I unto the sea from
whence I came.
And I with grief and sorrow to the court.
Here comes the queen, whose looks bewray her anger. I'll steal away.
Exeter, so will I.
Nay, go not from me. I will follow thee.
Be patient, gentle queen, and I will stay.
Who can be patient in such extremes? Oh, wretched man! Would I had died a maid, and never seen thee, never borne thee son, seeing thou hast proved so unnatural a father. Hath he deserved to lose his birthright thus? Hadst thou but loved him half so well as I, or felt that pain which I did for him once, or nourished him as I did with my blood, thou wouldst have left thy dearest heart blood there, rather than have made that savage duke thine heir, and disinherited thine only son.
Father, you cannot disinherit me. If you be king, why should not I succeed?
Pardon me, Margaret. Pardon me, sweet son. The Earl of Warwick and the Duke enforced me.
Enforced thee? Art thou king and wilt be forced? I shame to hear thee speak. Ah, timorous wretch! Thou hast undone thyself, thy son, and me, and given unto the house of York such head as thou shalt reign, but by their sufferance. To entail him and his heirs unto the crown, what is it but to make thy sepulchre and creep into it far before thy time? Warwick is chancellor and the Lord of Calais. Stern Falconbridge commands the narrow seas. The Duke is made protector of the realm, and yet shalt thou be safe? Such safety finds the trembling lamb environed with wolves. Had I been there, which am a silly woman, the soldiers should have tossed me on their pikes before I would have granted to that act. Oh, but thou preferst thy life before thine honor. And seeing thou dost, I here divorce myself both from thy table, Henry, and thy bed, until that act of Parliament be repealed whereby my son is disinherited. The northern lords that have forsworn thy colours will follow mine if once they see them spread. And spread they shall be to thy foul disgrace and utter ruin of the house of York. Thus do I leave thee. Come, son, let's away. Our army is ready. Come, we'll after them.
Stay, gentle Margaret, and hear me speak.
Thou hast spoke too much already. Get thee gone.
Gentle son Edward, thou wilt stay me?
Aye, to be murdered by his enemies.
When I return with victory to the field, I'll see your grace. Till then, I'll follow her.
Come, son, away. We may not linger thus.
Poor queen, how love to me and to her son hath made her break out into terms of rage. Revenged may she be on that hateful duke, whose haughty spirit, winged with desire, will cost my crown and like an empty eagle tire on the flesh of men, of me and of my son. The loss of those 3 lords torments my heart. I'll write unto them and entreat them fair. Come, cousin, you shall be the messenger.
And I hope, shall reconcile them all.
Scene 2, Yorkshire, a room in Sandal Castle.
Brother, though I be youngest, give me leave.
No, I can better play the orator.
But I have reasons strong and forcible.
Why, how now, sons and brother, at a strife? What is your quarrel? How began it first?
No quarrel, but a slight contention.
About what?
About that which concerns your grace and us. The crown of England, father, which is yours.
Mine, boy, not till King Henry be dead.
Your right depends not on his life or death.
Now you are heir, therefore enjoy it now. By giving the house of Lancaster leave to breathe, it will outrun you, father, in the end.
I took an oath that he should quietly reign.
But for a kingdom, any oath may be broken. I would break 1,000 oaths to reign 1 year.
No, God forbid your grace should be forsworn.
I shall be if I claim by open war.
I'll prove the contrary if you'll hear me speak.
Thou canst not, son. It is impossible.
Oath is of no moment, being took before the true and lawful magistrate that hath authority over him, that swears. Henry had none, but did usurp the place. Then seeing 'twas he that made you to depose, your oath, my lord, is vain and frivolous. Therefore to arms. And father, do but think how sweet a thing it is to wear a crown, within whose golden circuit is Elysium, and all that poets feign of bliss and joy. Why do we linger thus? I cannot rest until the white rose that I wear be dyed even in the lukewarm blood of Henry's heart.
Richard, enough. I will be king or die. Brother, thou shalt to London presently, and whet on Warwick to this enterprise. Thou, Richard, shalt to the Duke of Norfolk, and tell him privily of our intent. You, Edward, shall unto my Lord Cobham, with whom the Kentishmen will willingly rise. In them I trust, for they are soldiers, witty, courteous, liberal, full of spirit. While you are thus employed, what resteth more? But that I seek occasion how to rise. And yet the king not privy to my drift, nor any of the house of Lancaster. But stay, what news? Why comest thou in such post?
The Queen, with all the northern earls and lords, intend here to besiege you in your castle. She is hard by, with 20,000 men, and therefore fortify your hold, my lord.
Aye, with my sword. What, thinkst thou that we fear them? Edward and Richard, you shall stay with me. My brother Montague shall post to London. Let noble Warwick, Cobham, and the rest, whom we have left protectors of the king, with powerful policy strengthen themselves, and not trust simple Henry, nor his oaths.
Brother, I go. I'll win them, fear it not, and thus most humbly I do take my leave.
Sir John and Sir Hugh Mortimer, mine uncles, you are come to Sandal in a happy hour. The army of the Queen mean to besiege us.
She shall not need. We'll meet her in the field.
What, with 5,000 men?
I with 500, father. For me, a woman's general. What should we fear?
I hear their drums. Let's set our men in order and issue forth and bid them battle straight.
5 men to 20. Though the odds be great, I doubt not, uncle, of our victory. Many a battle have I won in France, when as the enemy hath been 10 to 1. Why should I not now have the like success?
Ah, whither shall I fly to escape their hands? Ah, tutor, look where bloody Clifford comes.
Chaplain, away. Thy priesthood saves thy life. As for the brat of this accursed duke, whose father slew my father, he shall die.
And I, my lord, will bear him company.
Soldiers, away with him!
Clifford, murder not this innocent child, lest thou be hated both of God and man.
Oh no! Is he dead already? Or is it fear that makes him close his eyes? I'll open them.
So looks the pent-up lion o'er the wretch that trembles under his devouring paws, and so he walks, insulting o'er his prey, and so he comes to rend his limbs asunder. Ah, gentle Clifford, kill me with thy sword, and not with such a cruel, threatening look. Sweet Clifford, hear me speak before I die. I am too mean a subject for thy wrath. Be thou revenged on men, and let me live.
In vain thou speakest, poor boy. My father's blood hath stopped the passage where thy words should enter.
Then let my father's blood open it again. He is a man, and Clifford cope with him.
Had I thy brethren here, their lives and thine were not revenge sufficient for me. No, if I digged up thy forefathers' graves and hung their rotten coffins up in chains, it could not slake mine ire nor ease my heart. The sight of any of the house of York is as fury to torment my soul until I root out their accursed line and leave not one alive. I live in hell. Therefore,
oh, let me pray before I take my death. To thee I pray, sweet Clifford, pity me.
Such pity as my rapier's point affords.
I never did thee harm. Why wilt thou slay me?
Thy father hath.
But 'twas ere I was born. Thou hast one son, for his sake pity me. Least in revenge thereof, since God is just, he be as miserably slain as I. Let me live in prison all my days, and when I give occasion of offense, then let me die. For now thou hast no cause.
No cause? Thy father slew my father, therefore die. Plantagenet, I come, Plantagenet, and this thy son's blood cleaving to my blade shall rust upon my weapon, till thy blood congealed with this do make me wipe off both.
The army of the Queen hath got the field. My uncles both are slain in rescuing me, and all my followers to the eager foe turn back and fly like ships before the wind, or lambs pursued by hunger-starved wolves. My sons, God knows what hath bechanced them, but this I know, they have demeaned themselves like men born to renown by life or death. 3 times did Richard make a lane to me, and thrice cried, "Courage, father, fight it out!" And full as oft came Edward to my side with purple falcon painted to the hilt, in blood of those that hath encountered him. And when the hardiest warriors did retire, Richard cried, "Charge, and give no foot of ground," and cried, "A crown or else a glorious tomb, a scepter or an earthly sepulchre." With this we charged again, but out, alas, we bodged again, as I have seen a swan with bootless labor swim against the tide and spend her strength with overmatching waves. Oh, hark, the fatal followers do pursue, and I am faint and cannot fly their fury. And were I strong, I would not shun their fury. The sands are numbered that makes up my life. Here must I stay, and here my life must end. Come, bloody Clifford, rough Northumberland. I dare your quenchless fury to more rage. I am your butt, and I abide your shot.
Yield to our mercy, proud Plantagenet.
Aye, to such mercy as his ruthless arm with downright payment shewed unto my father. Now, Phaeton, hast thou tumbled from his care, and made an evening at the noontide prick.
My ashes, as the phoenix, may bring forth a bird that will revenge upon you all. And in that hope I throw mine eyes to heaven, scorning whate'er you can afflict me with. Why come you not? What? Multitudes and fear?
So cowards fight, and when they can fly no further, so doves do peck the falcon's piercing talons. So desperate thieves, all hopeless in their lives, breathe out invectives against the officers.
Oh, Clifford, but bethink thee once again, and in thy thought, run my former time. And if thou canst, for blushing, view this face, and bite thy tongue that slanders him with cowardice, whose frown hath made thee faint and fly ere this.
I will not bandy with thee word for word, but buckler with thee blows twice 2 for 1.
Hold, valiant Clifford. For 1,000 causes, I would prolong a while the traitor's life. Wrath makes him deaf. Speak thou, Northumberland.
Old Clifford, do not honor him so much to prick thy finger, though to wound his heart. What valor were it, when a cur doth grin for one to thrust his hand between his teeth, when he might spurn him with his foot away? It is war's prize to take all vantages, and 10 to 1 is no impeach of valor.
Aye, so strives the woodcock with the gin.
So doth the connie struggle in the net.
So triumph thieves upon their conquered booty, so true men yield with robbers so o'ermatched.
What would your grace have done unto him now?
Brave warriors, Clifford and Northumberland. Come, make him stand upon this molehill here, that wrought at mountains with outstretched arms, yet parted but the shadow with his hand. What? Was it you that would be England's king? Was you that revelled in our parliament and made a preachment of your high descent? Where are your mess of sons to back you now? The wanton Edward and the lusty George? And where's that valiant crookback prodigy Dicky, your boy, that with his grumbling voice was wont to cheer his dad in mutinies? Or with the rest? Where is your darling Rutland? Look, York, I stained this napkin with the blood that valiant Clifford with his rapier's point made issue from the bosom of the boy. And if thine eyes can water for his death, I give thee this to dry thy cheeks withal. Alas, oh, poor York! But that I hate thee deadly, I should lament thy miserable state. I prithee, grieve to make me merry, York. What? Hath thy fiery heart so parched thine entrails that not a tear can fall for Rutland's death? Why art thou patient, man? Thou shouldst be mad, and I, to make thee mad, do mock thee thus. Stamp, rave and fret, that I may sing and dance. Oh, thou wouldst be feed, I see, to make me sport. York cannot speak unless he wear a crown. Oh, a crown for York! And lords, bow low to him. Hold you as hands while I do set it on. Ay, marry, sir, now he looks a king. Aye, this is he that took King Henry's chair, and this is he was his adopted heir. Oh, but how is it that great Plantagenet is crowned so soon and broke his solemn oath? As I bethink me, oh, you should not be king till our King Henry had shook hands with death. And will you pale your head in Henry's glory and rob his temples of the diadem now in his life against your holy oath? Oh, 'tis a fault too unpardonable. Off with the crown, and with the crown, his head. And whilst we breathe, take time to do him dead.
That is my office, for my father's sake.
Nay, stay. Let's hear the orisons he makes.
She-wolf of France, but worse than wolves of France, whose tongue more poisons than the adder's tooth. How ill-beseeming is it in thy sex to triumph like an Amazonian trull upon their woes whom fortune captivates, but that thy face is vizard-like, unchanging, made impudent with use of evil deeds. I would essay, proud queen, to make thee blush, to tell thee whence thou camest, of whom derived were shame enough to shame thee, wert thou not shameless. Thy father bears the type of King of Naples, of both the Sicilies and Jerusalem, yet not so wealthy as an English yeoman. Hath that poor monarch taught thee to insult? It needs not, nor it boots thee not, proud queen, unless the adage must be verified, that beggars mounted run their horse to death. Oh, nuts. Oh, sorry, just hit the wrong button. Okay, one moment. The beggars mounted, run their horse to death. 'Tis beauty that doth oft make women proud, but God, he knows thy share thereof is small. 'Tis virtue that doth make them most admired. The contrary doth make thee wondered at. This government that makes them seem divine, the want thereof makes thee abominable. Thou art as opposite to every good as the Antipodes are unto us, or the south to the septentrion. O tiger's heart wrapped in a woman's hide, how couldst thou drain the lifeblood of the child to bid the father wipe his eyes withal, and yet be seen to wear a woman's face? Women are soft, mild, pitiful, and flexible. Thou, stern, obdurate, flinty, rough, remorseless. Bidst thou me rage? Why, now thou hast thy wish. Wouldst have me weep? Why, now thou hast thy will. A raging wind blows up incessant showers, and when the rage allays, the rain begins. These tears are my sweet Rutland's obsequies, and every drop cries vengeance for his death. Against thee, fell Clifford, and thee, false French woman.
Through me, but its passions moves me so that hardly can I check my eyes from tears.
That face of his, the hungry cannibals would not have touched, could not have stained with blood. But you are more inhumane, more inexorable. Oh, 10 times more than tigers of Hyrcania. See, ruthless queen, a hapless father's tears. This cloth thou dipst in blood of my sweet boy, and with tears do wash the blood away. Keep thou the napkin, and go boast of this. And if thou tell'st the heavy story right upon my soul, the hearers will shed tears. Yea, even my foes will shed fast-falling tears and say, alas, it was a piteous deed. There, take the crown, and with the crown my curse! And in thy need, such comfort come to thee, as now I reap at thy too cruel hand. Hard-hearted Clifford, take me from the world, my soul to heaven, my blood upon your heads.
Had he been slaughterman to all my kin, I should not for my life but weep with him to see how inly sorrow grips his soul.
What? Weeping right, my lord Northumberland? Think but upon the wrong he did us all, and that will quickly dry thy melting tears.
Here's for my oath, here's for my father's death.
And here's to right our gentle-hearted king.
Open thy gate of mercy, gracious God. My soul flies through these wounds. to seek out thee.
Off with his head, and set it on York gates, so York may overlook the town of York.
2, Scene 1, a plain in Herefordshire.
I wonder how our princely father scaped, or whether he be scaped away or no. For Clifford's and Northumberland's pursuit had he been taken, we should have heard the news. Had he been slain, we should have heard the news. Or had he escaped, methinks we should have heard the happy tidings of his good escape. How fares my brother? Why is he so sad?
I cannot joy until I be resolved whether our right valiant father is become. I saw him in the field, in the battle range about, and watched him, how he singled Clifford forth. Oh, methought he bore him in the thickest troop, as to the lion in a herd of neats, or as a bear, encompassed round with dogs, who having pinched a few and made them cry, the rest stand all aloof, and bark at him. So fared our father with his enemies. So fled his enemies, my warlike father. Oh, methinks 'tis prize enough to be his son. See how the morning opes her golden gates, and takes her farewell of the glorious sun. How well resembles it the prime of youth, trimmed like a younker prancing to her love.
Dazzling mine eyes, where do I see 3 sons?
3 glorious sons, each one a perfect son, not separated with a racking clouds, but severed in a pale, clear, shining sky. See, they join, embrace, and seem to kiss, as if they vowed some league inviolable. Now they but one lamp, one light, one sun. In this heaven's figure some event.
'Tis wonder strange, the like yet never heard of. I think it cites us, brother, to the field, that we, the sons of brave Plantagenet, each one already blazing by our meads, should notwithstanding join our lights together and overshine the earth as this the world. Whate'er it bodes, henceforth will I bear upon my target 3 fair shining sons.
Nay, bear 3 daughters. By your leave I speak it. You love the breeder better than the male. But what art thou, whose heavy looks foretell some dreadful story hanging on thy tongue?
One that was a woeful looker on, when was the noble Duke of York was slain, your princely father, and my loving lord.
Oh, speak no more, for I have heard too much.
Say how he died, for I will hear it all.
And Byron he was
with many foes, and stood against them as the hope of Troy. Against the Greeks they would have entered Troy, but Hercules himself must yield to odds, and many strokes, though with a little axe, hews down and fells the hardest timbered oak. By many hands your father was subdued, but only slaughtered by the ireful arm of unrelenting Clifford and the Queen, who crowned the gracious Duke in high despite, laughed in his face. And when with grief he wept, the ruthless Queen gave him to dry his cheeks a napkin, steeped in the harmless blood of sweet young Rutland, by rough Clifford slain. And after many scorns, many foul taunts, they took his head, and on the gates of York they set the same. And there it doth remain, the saddest spectacle that e'er I viewed.
Of York, our prop to lean upon, now thou art gone, we have no staff, no stay. Oh, Clifford, boisterous Clifford, thou hast slain the flower of Europe for his chivalry, and treacherously hast thou vanquished him, for hand to hand he would have vanquished thee. Now my soul's place has become a prison. Oh, would she break from hence, that this my body might in the ground be closed up to rest, for ne'er henceforth shall I joy again. Never, oh, never shall I see more joy.
I cannot weep, for all my body's moisture scarce serves to quench my furnace burning heart. Nor can my tongue unload my heart's great burden. For self-same wind that I should speak withal is kindling coals that fire all my breath, and burns me up in flames that tears would quench. To weep is to make less the depth of grief. Tears for babes, blows in revenge for me. Richard, I bear thy name. Avenge thy death, or die renowned by attempting it.
His name that valiant duke hath left with thee. His dukedom and his chair left with me is left.
Nay, if thou be that princely eagle's bird, show thy descent 'gainst the sun. For chair and dukedom, throne and kingdom say, either that is thine, or else thou wert not his.
How now, fair lords? What fair? What news abroad?
Great Lord of Warwick, if we should recount our baleful news, at each word's deliverance stab poignards in our flesh, till all were told, the words would add more anguish to the wounds. O valiant Lord, the Duke of York is slain.
Oh, Warwick, that Plantagenet which held thee dearly as his soul's redemption is by the stern Lord Clifford done to death.
10 days ago I drowned these news in tears, and now to add more measure to your woes, I come to tell you things since then befall. After the bloody fray at Wakefield fought, where your brave father breathed his latest gasp, tidings as swiftly as the posts could run were brought me of your loss and his depart. It died then in London, keeper of the king, mustered my soldiers, gathered flocks of friends, marched towards St. Albans to intercept the queen, bearing the king in my behalf along. For by my scouts I was advertised that she was coming with a full intent to dash our late decree in Parliament, touching King Henry's oath and your succession. In a short tale to make, we at St. Albans met, our battles joined, and both sides fiercely fought. But whether 'twas the coldness of the king, who looked full gently on his warlike queen, that robbed my soldiers of her heated spleen, or whether 'twas report of her success, or more than common fear of Clifford's rigor, who thunders to his captives blood and death, I cannot judge. But to conclude with truth, their weapons like to lightning came and went. Our soldiers, like the night owl's lazy flight, or like a lazy thresher with a flail, fell gently down as if they struck their friends. I cheered them up with justice of our cause, with promise of high pay and great rewards, but all in vain. They had no heart to fight, and we in them no hope to win the day, so that we fled. The king unto the queen, Lord George, your brother, Norfolk, and myself, in haste, post haste, are come to join with you. For in the marches here we heard you were, making another head to fight again.
Where is the Duke of Norfolk, gentle Warwick? And when came George from Burgundy to England?
Some 6 miles off the Duke is with the soldiers, and for your brother, he was lately sent from your kind Aunt Duchess of Burgundy, with aid of soldiers to this needful war.
Was odds belike when valiant Warwick fled. Oft have I heard his praises in pursuits, but ne'er till now his scandal of retire.
Nor now my scandal, Richard, dost thou hear. For thou shalt know this strong right hand of mine can pluck the diadem from faint Henry's head and wring the awful scepter from his fist, were he as famous and as bold in war as he is famed for mildness, peace, and prayer.
I know it well, Lord Warwick, blame me not, 'tis love I bear, thy glories make me speak. But in this troublous time, what's to be done? Shall we go throw away our coats of steel and wrap our bodies in black mourning gowns, numbering our Ave Marias with our beads? Or shall we, on the helmets of our foes, tell our devotion with revengeful arms? If for the last say I, and to it, lords.
Why, therefore Warwick came to seek you out, and therefore comes my brother Montague. Attend me, lords. The proud, insulting queen, with Clifford and the hot Northumberland, and of their feather many more proud birds, have wrought the easy melting king like wax. He swore consent to your succession, his oath enrolled in Parliament, and now to London all the crew are gone, to frustrate both his oath and what beside may make against the house of Lancaster. Their power, I think, is 30,000 strong. Now, if the help of Norfolk and myself, with all the friends that thou, brave Earl of March, amongst the loving Welshmen canst procure, will but amount to 25,000, why, via to London we will march, and once again bestride our foaming steeds, and once again cry charge upon our foes, and never once again turn back and fly.
Aye, now methinks I hear great Warwick speak. Ne'er may he live to see a sunshine day that cries retire, if Warwick bid him stay.
Lord Warwick, on thy shoulder will I lean, and when thou failst, as God forbid the hour, must Edward fall, which peril heaven forfend.
No longer Earl of March, but Duke of York. The next degree is England's royal throne. For King of England shalt thou be proclaimed in every borough as we pass along. And he that throws not up his cap for joy shall for the fault make forfeit of his head. King Edward, valiant Richard Montague, stay we no longer dreaming of renown, but sound the trumpets and about our task.
Then, Clifford, with thy heart as hard as steel, as thou hast shown it flinty by thy deeds, I come to pierce it or give it thee mine.
Then strike up drums, God and St. George, for us!
How now? What news?
Duke of Norfolk sends you word by me the Queen is coming with a puissant host, and craves your company for speedy counsel.
Why, then it sorts, brave warriors. Let's away.
Scene 2, the city of York.
Welcome, my lord, to this brave town of York. Yonder's the head of thy arch enemy that sought to be encompassed with your crown. Doth not the object cheer your heart, my lord?
Aye, as the rocks cheer them that fear their wrack. To see this sight, it irks my very soul. Withhold revenge, dear God, 'tis not my fault, nor wittingly have I infringed my vows.
My gracious liege, this too much lenity and harmful pity must be laid aside. To whom do Leon cast their gentle looks? Not to the beast that would usurp their den. Whose hand is that the forest bear doth lick? Not his that spoils her young before her face. Who escapes the lurking serpent's mortal sting? Not he that sets his foot upon her back. The smallest worm will turn, being trodden on, and doves will peck in safeguard of their brood. Ambitious York did level at thy crown, thou smiling while he knit his angry brows. But he but a duke, would have his son a king, and raise his issue like a loving sire. Thou, being a king, blessed with a goodly son, didst yield consent to disinherit him, which argued thee a most unloving father. Unreasonable creatures feed their young, and though man's face be fearful to their eyes, yet in protection of their tender ones, who hath not seen them even with those wings which sometime they have used, with fearful flight make war with him that climbed unto their nest, offering their own lives in their young's defense? For shame, my liege. Make them your president. Were it not pity that this goodly boy should lose his birthright by his father's fault, and long hereafter say unto his child, what my great-grandfather and grandsire got, my careless father fondly gave away. Ah, what a shame were this! Look on the boy, and let his manly face, which promiseth successful fortune, steel thy melting heart, and hold thine own, and leave thine own with him.
Full well hath Clifford played the orator, inferring arguments of mighty force. But Clifford, tell me, didst thou never hear that things ill-got had ever bad success? And happy always was it for that son whose father for his hoarding went to hell. I'll leave my son, my virtuous deeds behind, and would my father had left me no more. For all the rest is held at such a rate as brings 1,000-fold more care to keep than in possession any jot of pleasure. Cousin York, would thy best friends did know how it doth grieve me that thy head is here.
My lord, cheer up your spirits, our foes are nigh, and this soft courage makes your followers faint. You promised knighthood to our forward son. Unsheathe your sword and dub him presently. Edward, kneel down.
Edward Plantagenet, arise a knight, and learn this lesson. Draw thy sword in right.
My gracious father, by your kingly leave, I will draw it as a parent to the crown, and in that quarrel use it to the death.
But that is spoken like a toward a prince.
Royal commanders, be in readiness. With a band of 30,000 men comes Warwick, backing of the Duke of York, and in the towns they do march along, proclaims him king, and many fly to him. Arraign your battle, for they are at hand.
I would your highness would depart the field. The queen hath best success when you are absent.
Aye, good my lord, and leave us to our fortune.
Why, that's my fortune too, therefore I'll stay.
Be it resolution then to fight.
My royal father, cheer these noble lords and hearten those that fight in your defense. Unsheath your sword, good father. Cry St. George.
Oh, perjured Henry, wilt thou kneel for grace and set thy diadem upon my head, or hide the mortal fortune of the field?
You rape thy minions, proud insulting boy. Becomes it thee to be thus bold in terms before thy sovereign and thy lawful king?
I am his king, and he should bow his knee. I was adopted heir by his consent.
Since when his oath is broke? For as I hear, you, that are king, though he do wear the crown, have caused him by new act of parliament to blot me out and put his own son in.
And reason too, who should succeed the father but the son?
Are you there, butcher? Oh, I cannot speak.
I cook back, here I stand to answer thee, or any he, the proudest of thy sort.
Of you that killed young Rutland, was it not?
Aye, and old York, and yet not satisfied.
For God's sake, lords, give signal to the fight.
What sayest thou, Henry? Wilt thou yield the crown?
Why, how now, long-tongued Warwick, dare you speak? When you and I met at St. Albans last, your legs did better service than your hands.
Then 'twas my turn to fly, and now 'tis thine.
You said so much before, and yet you fled.
'Twas not your valor, Clifford, drove me thence.
No, your manhood that does make you stay.
Northumberland, I hold thee reverently. Break off the parley, for I scarce can refrain the execution of my big swollen heart upon that Clifford, that cruel child killer.
I slew thy father. Call'st thou him a child?
Aye, like a dastard and a traitorous coward, as thou didst kill our tender brother Rutland. But ere sunset, I'll make thee curse the deed.
Have done with words, my lords, and hear me speak.
Defy them then, or else hold close thy lips.
I prithee give no limits to my tongue. I am a king and privileged to speak.
My liege, the wound that bred this meeting here cannot be cured by words, therefore be still.
Then, executioner, unsheathe thy sword. By him that made us all, I am resolved that Clifford's manhood lies upon his tongue.
Say, Henry, shall I have my right or no? 1,000 men have broke their fast today, that ne'er shall dine unless thou yield at the crown.
If thou deny, their blood upon thy head. For York in justice put his armor on.
If that be right, which Warwick says is right, there is no wrong, but everything is right.
Whoever got thee, there thy mother stands, for well I wot thou hast thy mother's tongue.
But thou art neither like thy sire nor dam, but like a foul misshapen stigmatic, marked by the destinies to be avoided, as venom toads or lizards' dreadful stings.
Iron of Naples hid with English guilt, whose father bears the title of a king, as if a channel should be called the sea. Shamest thou not, knowing whence thou art extraught, to let thy tongue detect thy base-born heart?
A wisp of straw were worth 1,000 crowns to make this shameless callet know herself. Helen of Greece was fairer far than thou, although thy husband may be Menelaus. And ne'er was Agamemnon's brother wronged by that false woman as this king by thee. His father reveled in the heart of friends and tamed the king and made the dolphins stoop. And had he matched according to his state, he might have kept that glory to this day. But when he took a beggar to his bed and graced thy poor sire with his bridal day, even then that sunshine brewed a shower for him and washed his father's fortunes forth from France and heaped sedition on his crown at home. For what hath broached this tumult but thy pride? Hast thou been meek, our title still had slept, and we in pity of the gentle king had slipped our claim until another age.
But when we saw our sunset, our sunshine made thy spring, and that thy summer bred us no increase, we set the axe to thy usurping root. And though the edge yet hath something hit ourselves, yet know thou, since we have begun to strike, we'll never leave till we have hewn thee down or bathed thy growing with our heated bloods.
And in this resolution I defy thee, not willing any longer conference, since thou deniest the gentle king to speak. Sound, trumpets, let our bloody colors wave, and enter victory or else a grave.
Stay, Edward.
No, wrangling woman, will no longer stay. These words will cost 10,000 lives this day.
Scene 3, a battlefield in Yorkshire.
Forspent with toil as runners with a race, I lay me down a while to breathe. For strokes received, and many blows repaid, have robbed my strong knit sinews of their strength, and spite of spite, needs must I rest a while.
Smile, gentle heaven, or strike ungentle death, for this world frowns and Edward's sun is clouded.
How now, my lord? What hap? What hope of good?
Our hap is loss, our hope but sad despair. Our ranks are broke, and ruin follows us. What counsels give you? Whither shall we fly?
Rootless is flight. They follow us with wings, and weak we are, and cannot shun pursuit.
Ah, Warwick, why hast thou withdrawn thyself? Thy brother's blood the thirsty earth hath drunk, broached with the steely point of Clifford's lance, and in the very pangs of death he cried, like to a dismal clangor heard from far, Warwick, revenge! Brother, revenge my death! So underneath the belly of their steeds that stained their fetlocks in his smoking blood, the noble gentleman gave up the ghost.
Then let the earth be drunken with our blood. I'll kill my horse because I will not fly. Why stand we like soft-hearted women here, wailing our losses, while the foe doth rage, and look upon as if the tragedy were played in jest by counterfeiting actors? Here on my knee, I vow to God above, I'll never pause again, never stand still, until either death hath closed these eyes of mine, or fortune given me measure of revenge.
O Warwick, I do bend my knee with thine, and in this vow do chain my soul to thine. And ere my knee rise from the earth's cold face, I throw my hands, mine eyes, my heart to thee. Thou set her up and pluck her down of kings, beseeching thee, if with they will it stands, that to my foes this body must be prey. Yet that thy brazen gates of heaven may ope and give sweet passage to my sinful soul. Now, lords, take leave until we meet again, where'er it be in heaven or in earth.
Brother, give me thy hand, and gentle Warwick, let me embrace thee in my weary arms. I that did never weep now melt with woe, that winter should cut off our springtime so.
Away, away, once more, sweet lords, farewell.
Yet let us all together to our troops, and give them leave to fly that will not stay, and call them pillars that will stand with us. And if we thrive, promise them such rewards as victors wear at Olympian games. This may plant courage in their quailing breasts, for yet is hope of life and victory. For slow no longer, we make hence amain.
Now, Clifford, I have singled thee alone. Suppose this arm is for the Duke of York, and this for Rutland, both bound to revenge. Wert thou environed with a brazen wall?
Now, Richard, I am with thee here alone, and this is the hand that stabbed thy father York, and this is the hand that slew thy brother Rutland, and here's the heart that triumphs in their death, and cheers these hands that slew thy sire and brother to execute the like upon thyself, and so have at thee.
Nay, Warwick, singled out with some other chase, for I myself will hunt this wolf to death.
This battle fares like to the morning's war, when dying clouds contend with growing light. The time the shepherd, blowing of his nails, can neither call it perfect day nor night. Now sways it this way like a mighty sea, forced by the tide to combat with the wind. Now sways it that way like the self-same sea, forced to retire by fury of the wind. Sometime the flood prevails, and then the wind. Now one the better, then another best, both tugging to be victors breast to breast. Yet neither conqueror nor conquered. So is the equal poise of this fell war. Here on this molehill will I sit me down, to whom, God will, there be the victory. For Margaret, my queen, and Clifford too, have chid me from the battle, swearing both they prosper best of all when I am thence. But I were dead, if God's good will were so. For what is in this world but grief and woe? Oh God, methinks it were a happy life to me no better than a homely swain, sit upon a hill as I do now, to carve out dials quietly, point by point, thereby to see the minutes how they run, how many makes the hour full complete, how many hours brings about the day, how many days will vanish up the year, how many years a mortal man may live. When this is known, then to divide the times, so many hours and I tend my flock, so many hours must I make my rest, so many hours must I contemplate, so many hours must I sport myself, so many days my youths have been with young, so many weeks ere the poor fools will e'en, so many years ere I shall shear the fleece. So minutes, hours, days, months, and years passed over to the end they were created, would bring white hairs unto a quiet grave. What a life were this, how sweet, how lovely. Gives not the hawthorn bush a sweeter shade to shepherds looking on their silly sheep than doth a rich embroidered canopy to kings that fear their subjects' treachery? Oh yes, it doth, 1,000-fold it doth. And to conclude, the shepherd's homely curds, his cold thin drink out of his leather bottle, his wanton sleep under a fresh tree shade, all which secure and sweetly he enjoys, is far beyond a prince's delicates, his viands sparkling in a golden cup, his body couched in a curious bed when care, mistrust, and treason waits on him.
Ill blows the wind that profits no body. This man whom hand to hand I slew in fight may be possessed with some store of crowns, and I that haply take them from him now may yet ere night yield both my life and them to some man else, as this dead man doth me. Oh God, 'tis my father's face, whom in this conflict I unawares killed. Oh, heavy times, begetting such events. From London, by the king was I pressed forth, my father being the Earl of Warwick's man, came on the part of York, pressed by his master, and I, who at his hands received my life, have by my hands of life bereaved him. Pardon me, God, I know not what I did, and pardon, Father, for I knew not thee. My tears shall wipe away these bloody marks, and no more words till they have flowed their fill.
Oh, piteous spectacle! Oh, bloody times! Whilst lions war and battle for their dens, poor harmless lambs abide their enmity. Weep, wretched man, I'll aid thee tear for tear, and let our hearts and eyes like civil war be blind with tears and break o'ercharged with grief.
Thou that so stoutly hath resisted me, give me that gold if thou hast any gold. Ah, for I bought it with 100 blows. But let me see, is this our foeman's face? Oh, no. It is mine only son. Oh boy, if any life be left in thee, throw up thine eye. See, what showers arise, blown with the windy tempests of my heart upon thy wounds that kills mine iron heart. Oh, pity God, this miserable age, what stratagems have fell, how butcherly, erroneous, mutinous, and unnatural this deadly quarrel daily doth beget. Oh boy, thy father gave thee life too soon, and hath bereft thee of thy life too late.
Woe above woe, grief more than common grief. Oh, that my death would stay these ruthful deeds. So pity, gentle heaven, pity. The red rose and the white are on his face, the fatal colors of our striving houses. The one his purple blood right well resembles, the other his pale cheeks methinks presenteth. Wither one rose and let the other flourish. If you contend, 1,000 lives must wither.
How will my mother for a father's death take on with me and ne'er be satisfied?
How will my wife for slaughter of my son shed seas of tears and never be satisfied?
How will the country for these woeful chances misthink the king and not be satisfied?
Was ever son so rude a father's death?
Was ever father so bemoaned his son?
Was ever king so grieved for subjects' woe? Much is your sorrow, mine 10 times so much.
I'll bear thee hence, where I may weep my fill.
These arms of mine shall be thy winding sheet. My heart, sweet boy, shall be thy sepulchre. For from my heart, thine image ne'er shall go. My sighing breast shall be thy funeral bell, and so obsequious will thy father be. Men for the loss of thee having no more, as Priam was for all his valiant sons, I'll bear thee hence. Let them fight that will. For I have murdered where I should not kill.
Sad-hearted man, much overgone with care. Here sits a king more woeful than you are.
Fly, father, fly, for all your friends are fled. And Warwick rages like a chased bull. Away, for death doth hold us in pursuit.
Mount you, my lord, towards barrack postemain. Edward and Richard, like a brace of greyhounds having the fearful flying hare in sight, with fiery eyes sparkling for very wrath and bloody steel grasped in their ireful hands, are at our backs, and therefore hence amain.
Away, for vengeance comes along with them. No, nay, stay not to expostulate, make speed, or else come after, I'll away before.
May take me with thee, good sweet Exeter. Not that I fear to stay, but love to go whither the Queen intends, forward away.
Here burns my candle out. I hear it dies, which whilst it lasted gave King Henry light. O Lancaster! I fear thy overthrow more than my body's parting with my soul. My love and fear glued many friends to thee, and now I fall. Thy tough commixtures melts, impairing Henry, strengthening misproud York, and whether fly the gnats but to the sun? And who shines now but Henry's enemies? O Phoebus! Hadst thou never given consent that fate and should check thy fiery steeds, thy burning care never had scorched the earth, and Henry, hadst thou swayed as kings should do, or as thy father and his father did, giving no ground unto the house of York, they never then had sprung like summer flies. I, 10,000 in this luckless realm, had left no mourning widows for our death, and thou this day hadst kept thy chair in peace. What doth cherish weeds but gentle air? And what makes robbers bold but too much lenity? Bootless are plaints and cureless are my wounds. No way to fly, no strength to hold out flight. The foe is merciless and will not pity, for at their hands I have deserved no pity. There hath got into my deadly wounds, and much effuse of blood doth make me faint. Come, York, and Richard, Warwick, and the rest. I stabbed your father's bosoms, split my breast.
Now breathe we lords, good fortune bids us pause, and smooth the frowns of war with peaceful looks. Some troops pursue the bloody-minded queen that led calm Henry, though he were a king, as doth a sail filled with a fretting gust command an argosy to stem the waves. But think you, lords, that Clifford fled with them?
No, 'tis impossible he should escape. For though before his face I speak the words, your brother Richard marked him for the grave, and wheresoe'er he is, he's surely dead.
Soul is that which takes her heavy leave, a deadly groan like life and death's departing. See who it is.
Now the battle's ended. If friend or foe, let him be used gently.
Wait, revoke that doom of mercy, for 'tis Clifford, who not contented that he lopped the branch in hewing Rutland when his leaves forth, but set his murdering knife unto the root, from whence the tender spray did sweetly spring. I mean our princely father, Duke of York.
From off the gates of York fetch down the head, your father's head, which Clifford placed there. Instead whereof, let this supply the room. Measure for measure must be answered.
Bring forth that fatal screech owl to our house, that nothing sung by death to us and ours. Now death shall stop his dismal threatening sound, and his ill-boding tongue shall no more speak.
I think his understanding is bereft. Speak, Clifford. Dost thou know who speaks to thee? Dark cloudy death o'ershades his beams of life, and he nor sees nor hears us what we say.
Oh, would he did, so perhaps he doth. 'Tis but his policy to counterfeit, because he would avoid such bitter taunts, which in the time of death he gave our father.
If so thou thinks, let's vex him with eager words.
Clifford, ask for mercy and obtain no grace.
Clifford, repent in bootless penitence.
Clifford, devise excuses for thy faults.
While we devise fell tortures for thy faults.
Thou didst love York, and I am son to York.
Thou pitiedst Rutland, I will pity thee.
Where's Captain Margaret to fence you now?
They mock thee, Clifford. Swear as thou was wont.
What? Not an oath? Nay then, the world goes hard when Clifford cannot spare his friends an oath. I know by that he's dead. And by my soul, if his right hand would buy 2 hours of life, that I, in all despite, might rail at him, his hand should chop it off, and with the issuing blood stifle the villain whose unstanched thirst York and young Rutland could not satisfy.
Aye, but he's dead. Off with the traitor's head, and rear it in the place your father stands. And now, to London with triumphant march, there to be crowned England's royal king, from whence shall Warwick cut the sea to France, and ask the Lady Bona for thy queen. So shalt thou sinew both these lands together, and having France thy friend, thou shalt not dread the scattered foe that hopes to rise again. For though they cannot greatly sting to hurt, yet look to have them buzz to offend thine ears. First will I see the coronation, and then to Brittany I'll cross the sea, to effect this marriage, so it please my lord.
Even as thou wilt, sweet Warwick, let it be. For in thy shoulder do I build my seat, and never will I undertake the thing wherein thy counsel and consent is wanting. Richard, I will create thee Duke of Gloucester, and George of Clarence, Warwick as ourself, shall do and undo as him pleaseth best.
Let me be Duke of Clarence, George of Gloucester, for Gloucester's dukedom is too ominous.
Tut, that's a foolish observation. Richard, be Duke of Gloucester. Now to London to see these honors in possession.
Act 3. Scene 1, a forest in the north of England.
Under this thick-grown brake we'll shroud, for through this land and on the deer we'll come, and in this covert will we make our stand, culling the principal of all the deer.
I'll stay above the hill, so both may shoot.
Oh, that cannot be. The noise of thy crossbow will scare the herd, and so my shoot is lost. Here, stand we both, and aim we at the best. And for the time shall not seem tedious, I'll tell thee what befell me on a day in this safe place where now we mean to stand. Here comes a man. Let's stay till he be past.
From Scotland am I stolen, even of pure love, to greet mine own land with my wishful sight. Oh, Harry, 'tis no land of thine. Thy place is filled, thy scepter wrung from thee, thy balm washed off wherewith thou wast anointed. No bending knee will call thee Caesar now, no humble suitors pleased to speak for right. No, not a man comes for redress of thee, for how can I help them and not myself?
Aye, here's a deer whose skin's a keeper's fee. This is the quondam king. Let's seize upon him.
Let me embrace the sower adversaries, for wise men say it is the wisest course.
Why linger we? Let us lay hands upon him.
Forbear a while. We'll hear a little more.
My queen and son are gone to France for aid, and as I hear the great commanding Warwick, I thither gone to crave the French king's sister to wife for Edward. If this news be true, poor queen and son, your labor is but lost. For Warwick is a subtle orator, and Lewis, a prince soon won with moving words. By this account, then, Margaret may win him, for she's a woman to be pitied much. Her sighs will make a battery in his breast, her tears will pierce into a marble heart. The tiger will be mild while she doth mourn, and Nero will be tainted with remorse to hear and see her plaints, her brinish tears. Aye, but she's come to beg Warwick to give. She on his left side craving aid for Henry, he on his right asking a wife for Edward. She weeps and says her Henry is deposed. He smiles and says his Edward is installed. That she, poor wretch, for grief can speak no more, whiles Warwick tells his tale, smooths the wrong, inferreth arguments of mighty strength, and in conclusion wins the king from her, with promise of his sister, and what else? To strengthen and support King Edward's place? Oh, Margaret, thus 'twill be, and thou, poor soul, art thou forsaken as thou went'st forlorn.
Say, what art thou that talks of kings and queens?
More than I seem, and less than I was born to. A man, at least, for less I should not be. And men may talk of kings, and why not I?
Aye, but thou talkest as if thou wert a king.
Why, so I am, in mind, and that's enough.
But if thou be a king, where is thy crown?
My crown is in my heart, not on my head, not decked with diamonds and Indian stones, nor to be seen. My crown is called content. A crown it is that seldom kings enjoy.
Well, if you be a king crowned with content, you're crowned content, and if you must be contented to go along with us. For as we think, you are the king Edward hath deposed, and we are his subjects, sworn in all allegiance, will apprehend you as his enemy.
But did you never swear and break an oath?
No, never such an oath, nor will not now.
Where did you dwell when I was king of England?
Here in this country where we now remain.
I was anointed king at 9 months old. My father and my grandfather were kings. And you were sworn true subjects unto me. And tell me then, have you not broke your oaths?
No, for we were subjects, but while you were king.
Why, am I dead? Do I not breathe a man? Ugh, simple men, you know not what you swear. Look, as I blow this feather from my face, and as the air blows it to me again, obeying with my wind when I do blow, and yielding to another when it blows, commanded always by the greater gust. Such is the likeness of you common men. But do not break your oaths, for of that sin my mild entreaty shall not make you guilty. Go where you will. The king shall be commanded. And be you kings, command, and I'll obey.
We are true subjects to the king, King Edward.
So would you be again to Henry if he were seated as King Edward is?
We charge you in God's name and the king's to go with us unto the officers.
In God's name, lead. Your king's name be obeyed. And what God will, that let your king perform. And what he will, I humbly yield unto you.
Scene 2. A palace in London.
Brother of Gloucester at St. Albans Field, this lady's husband, Sir Richard Grey, was slain. His lands were seized on by the conqueror. Her suit is now to repossess those lands, which we in justice cannot well deny, because in quarrel of the house of York, the worthy gentleman did lose his life.
Your Highness shall do well to grant her suit. It were to dishonor to deny her.
It were no less, but yet I'll make a pause.
Yea, it is so. I see the lady hath a thing to grant before the king will grant her humble suit.
He knows the game, how true he keeps the wind.
Silence.
Widow, we will consider of your suit and come some other time to know your mind.
Right, gracious lord. I cannot brook delay. May it please your highness to resolve me now, and what your pleasure is shall satisfy me.
Ay, widow, then I'll warrant you all your lands, and if what pleases him shall pleasure you, fight closer, or good faith you'll catch a blow.
I fear her not, unless she chance to fall.
God forbid that, for he'll take advantage of you.
How many children hast thou, widow? Tell me.
I think he means to beg a child of her.
Nathan whip me. He'll rather give her 2.
3, my most gracious lord.
She'll have 4 if you be ruled by him.
For pity they should lose their father's lands.
Be pitiful, dread lord, and grant it then.
Lords, give us leave. I'll try this widow's wit.
Ay, good leave have you, for you will have leave, till youth take leave and leave you to the crutch.
Now, tell me, madam, do you love your children?
I full as dearly as I love myself.
And would you not do much to do them good?
To do them good, I would sustain some harm.
Then get your husband's lands to do them good.
Therefore I came unto your majesty.
I'll tell you how these lands are to be got.
So shall you bind me to your highness' service?
What service wilt thou do me if I give them?
What you command, that rests in me to do.
But you will take exceptions to my boon?
No, gracious lord, except I cannot do it.
Aye, but thou canst do what I mean to ask.
Why then I will do what your grace commands.
The plies are hard, and much rain wears the marble.
As red as fire? Nay, then her wax must melt.
Why stops, my lord? Shall I not hear my task?
An easy task. 'Tis but to love a king.
That's soon performed, because I am your subject.
Why then, thy husband's lands I freely give thee.
I take my leave with many thousand thanks.
The match is made, she seals it with a curtsy.
But stay thee. 'Tis the fruits of love, I mean.
The fruits of love, I mean, my loving liege.
Aye, but I fear me in another sense. What love thou thinkst thou I sue so much to get?
My love till death, my humble thanks, my prayers, that love which virtue begs and virtue grants.
No, by my troth, I did not mean such love.
Why then you mean not as I thought you did.
But now you partly may perceive my mind.
My mind will never grant what I perceive your highness aims at, if I aim right.
Tell thee plain, I am to lie with thee.
To tell you plain, I had rather lie in prison.
Why? Then thou shalt not have thy husband's lands.
Why then my honesty shall be my dower, for by thy loss I will not purchase them.
Therein thou wrongst thy children mightily.
Herein your highness wrongs both them and me. But mighty lord, this merry inclination accords not with the sadness of my suit. Please you dismiss me either with aye or no.
Aye, if thou wilt say aye to my request, no, if thou wilt say no to my demand.
Then no, my lord, my suit is at an end.
Widow likes him not, she knits her brows.
He is the bluntest wooer in Christendom.
Looks doth argue her replete with modesty. Her words do show her wit incomparable. All her perfections challenge sovereignty. One way or another, she is for a king. And she shall be my love, or else my queen. Say that King Edward take thee for his queen.
'Tis better said than done, my gracious lord. I am a subject fit to jest withal, but fair unfit to be a sovereign.
Sweet widow, by my state I swear thee, I speak no more than what my soul intends, and that is to enjoy thee for my love.
And that is more than I will yield unto. I know I am too mean to be your queen, and yet too good to be your concubine.
You cavil, widow, I did mean my queen.
'Twill grieve your grace, my sons should call you father.
No more than when my daughters call thee mother. Thou art a widow, and thou hast some children, and by God's mother, I being but a bachelor, have some other. Why, 'Tis a happy thing to be the father unto many sons. Answer no more, for thou shalt be my queen.
The ghostly father now hath done his shrift.
When he was made a shriver, 'twas for a shift.
Brothers, you muse what chat we two have had.
The widow likes it not, for she looks very sad.
You'll think it strange if I should marry her.
To who, my lord?
Why, Clarence, to myself.
That would be 10 days' wonder at the least.
That's a day longer than a wonder lasts.
But so much is the wonder in extremes.
Well, jest on, brothers. I can tell you both, her suit is granted for her husband's lands.
My gracious lord, Henry, your foe, is taken and brought your prisoner to your palace gate.
See that he be conveyed unto the tower, and go we, brothers, to the man that took him to question of his apprehension. Widow, go you along. Lords, use her honorably.
Aye. Edward will use women honorably. Would he were wasted, marrow, bones, and all, that from his loins no hopeful branch may spring to cross me from the golden time I look for. And yet, between my soul's desire and me, the lustful Edward's title buried is Clarence, Henry, and his son, young Edward, and all the unlooked-for issue of their bodies. To take their rooms ere I can place myself, a cold premeditation to my purpose. But then I do but dream on sovereignty, like one that stands upon a promontory and spies a far-off shore where he would tread, wishing his foot were equal with his eye, and chides the sea that sunders him from thence, saying he'll lade it dry to have his way. So do I wish the crown being so far off. And so I chide the means that keeps me from it, and so I say, I'll cut the causes off, flattering me with impossibilities. My eye is too quick, my heart o'erweens too much, unless my hand and strength could equal them. Well, say there is no kingdom then for Richard. What other pleasure can this world afford? I'll make my heaven in a lady's lap, and deck my body in gay ornaments, and witch sweet ladies with my words and looks. Oh, miserable thought. I'm more unlikely to accomplish 20 golden crowns. Why, love forswore me in my mother's womb, and for I could not deal in her soft laws, she did corrupt frail nature with some bribe, to shrink mine arm up like a withered shrub, to make an envious mountain on my back, where sits deformity to mop my body, to shape my legs of an unequal size, to disproportion me in every part like to a chaos or an unlicked bear whelp that carries no impression like the dam. And am I not a man to be beloved? Oh, monstrous fault to harbor such a thought. And since this earth affords no joy to me, but to command, to check, to o'erbear such as are a better person than myself, I'll make my heaven to dream upon the crown. And whiles I live to account this world but hell, until my misshaped trunk that bears this head be round impaled with a glorious crown. And yet I know not how to get the crown, for many lives stand between me and home, and I, like one lost in a thorny wood that rents the thorns and is rent with the thorns, seeking a way and straying from the way, not knowing how to find the open air, but toiling desperately to find it out, torment myself to catch the English crown, and from that torment I will free myself or hew my way out with a bloody axe. Why, I can smile and murder whiles I smile, and cry contempt of that which grieves my heart, and wet my cheeks with artificial tears, and frame my face for all occasions. I'll drown more sailors than the mermaid shall, deceive more slyly than Ulysses could, and like a Sinon, take another Troy. I can add colors to the chameleon, change shapes with Proteus for advantages, and set the murderous Machiavel to school. Can I do this and cannot get a crown? Tut. But further off, I'll pluck it down.
Scene 3. King Louis XI's palace in France.
It is now time for us to take a short break.
Yeah.
10 minutes, please. It is 2:42, so 2:52. We will then begin again.
Great job, everybody.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, this is ripping right along. Hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but boy, this would make a heck of a movie. Wonder why people don't do it. I guess because there's too much of it.
That would be the reason.
Yeah. You'd have to do, I guess, 4 plays, really, in one.
What's the year on this one? Did anybody mention that? Approximately?
That's a good question. I don't think I know.
What was Paul saying? He was saying this was written the second. This was written after the part 1.
Okay.
I think he said that.
I can Google it.
Certainly can.
Around the early 1590s.
1591
okay.
is what Wikipedia says.
Okay.
Oh, it's always wrong. I don't think it's always wrong, but.
Well, it sometimes is wrong, frequently.
Oh, definitely.
But I'll take that.
What's the largest number of scenes within an act in a Shakespeare play? We have Act 4 has at least 8 scenes.
Well, I think in part 2 we had 10.
10.
In a scene, in an act.
Yeah.
That would be Antony and Cleopatra, I believe.
Ah, makes sense. Oh, I actually have the thing here for that. Oh, yes. You're right. In Antony and Cleopatra, in Act 4, there are 15 scenes.
Wikipedia also says that Part 3 features one of the longest soliloquies in all of Shakespeare. Act 3, Scene 2, lines 124 to 195, and has more battle scenes, 4 on stage and 1 reported, than any other of Shakespeare's plays.
Oh, that I'll definitely believe.
They're all fighting all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the third film in The Lord of the Rings. There's no plot and story anymore. They're just all fighting each other.
That's right.
Actually, I think that's just a pitfall when you have a trilogy. You just have to duke it out in the third one.
Yeah.
I think my favorite one in this lineup is probably the second one because they have there's so much going on. I know it's long and kind of, I like diversions. I also like Henry IV part 2. I like plays that aren't straight to the point, I think.
Are you involved in the one tomorrow, Drew?
No, I can't do it tomorrow. I'll be in the second part because Clarence is in the second part, not in the first.
It's very different.
Yeah, I would love to hear it. I'll listen to it on YouTube, but I'm not here tomorrow.
The lighter element is very predominant in it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I'll be doing it. Yeah, there seems to be quite a bit of comedy in it.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
There's a surprising amount of comedy in Thomas of Woodstock too, which might have been the longest one we've done so far. I was surprised at how long it was.
Yeah, it was quite long.
It gave
Henry you got to Richard III yet.
Oh, that's true. Oh,
Just
crap.
Shakespeare's second longest play, so
Act faster.
I turned it down because I just can't sit through it. I can't for at least for a while. So anyway.
I think we did one once at the library that was about 4.5 hours.
Which
what? Richard III.
Oh, Richard III, yeah.
Yeah. It's killer.
Wow.
Only Hamlet is longer.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I forget what this one.
I'm surprised that the speech here is longer than any of Hamlet's. Hamlet just does go on.
Yeah.
He does, but he spreads it out over a number of soliloquies.
Yeah.
This one's long.
Oh, interesting. Wikipedia also says that minor source that he used was Arthur Brooke's Tragical History of Romeo and Juliet.
For this?
Yeah, Margaret's speech to her army in Act 5, Scene 4 is taken almost verbatim from Brooke's play.
Really?
Interesting.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
I have a really pedestrian question, but it just occurred to me recently, and now both as a function of telling the story in the play and reality, there are always these messengers. Now, was that a profession or something, like the Messengers Guild or something, or? What is it really? I mean, sometimes you have a noble coming and giving the same sort of account of how a battle is going, or then there's a messenger pops in. So who are they?
I think these guys, they're just people that my lord of whatever, whoever would say, hey, you, I gotta come here. We've got to get this message to these people. Go, I think that's what it was, really.
Yeah, but how could they trust them to relay the information properly?
Well,
could it just be anybody?
No, they're soldiers.
People who are on their side.
Yeah,
they were liegemen usually.
Yeah,
that's why you have that weird chaos at the beginning of Henry IV part 2, where you have different messengers giving different information.
I mean, it was like people who lived on their land. So if they turned on you, you would be like, well, I have your family.
I mean, they probably gave him a little money to go do it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't.
Yeah.
Must have been a dangerous occupation at times.
It's dangerous in Antony and Cleopatra for sure.
Yeah.
Because the enemies are going to want to kill the messenger going back with the information.
Yeah.
Being a messenger has always been dangerous. Even in World War II, the messengers were the guys moving around on motorbikes.
Oh yeah.
And most of the battle rehearsals, they were the ones who got killed because tanks would roll over them and trucks would hit them.
Yeah.
And then
if this was done in 1591, the Globe wasn't started till 1598. That means this was staged at the Curtain, their old home in Shoreditch, which makes sense with all the battles because that's where they could do the full spread of the stage.
Wow. Hasn't the Curtain, isn't it being excavated?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's what are they going to do to it? Are they just going to keep it as a site? Or?
I'm not sure they can really do anything. They're just finding everything that they can. They've got the dimensions of the stage, which, as far as I recall, are the same as the dimensions of the Globe stage, 40 meters wide. But the difference is in the Curtain, because it was sort of a cross-arch theatre, you could use the whole 40 meters, which you can't in the Globe because you've got the pillars in.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Also, the foundations of the rows were found in the basement of actually
yeah, that's right.
I saw it underneath a modern office structure of some sort.
Yep.
Yeah.
Boy, developers will just build anywhere, won't they?
That's right.
Just love it right on top.
But then you decide to put up a high-speed train route from London to Manchester, which nobody really wants, except a few Tory mercenaries. And you dig up all sorts of interesting things.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's a good thing to dig, you find.
They've just found, for the first time in Britain, the first collection of sculptures of a family, a man, a woman, and a child.
From what period?
Roman period, 43 onwards.
Wow.
Down in the, it was a Norman church initially. That was what they were excavating, and people wondered why the hell was it actually built there, because it's in the middle of nowhere. And Alice Roberts suggested, hey, maybe there's a Roman temple underneath it, and sure enough there was, at least a Roman villa.
Wow. Wow, that's really cool. Oh, you just want to take apart the whole city and look underneath.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, you can't dig down too far before you hit something.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, we even do that here.
Oh, look at how much about southern New York.
Yeah.
Manhattan that they didn't know until the towers came down.
Yeah. A lot of bodies we find. Yeah.
Well, but there was at one time, I don't know if it's still there was a museum of things that had been excavated during constructions.
Mm-hmm.
Because because they're building things so much bigger, they also have basements and sub-basements and sub-basements, and so they're digging farther and farther, and they're finding all kinds of interesting artifacts and things.
Mm. Yep. Then they discovered they're actually building on particularly old African American graveyards, and developers suddenly find
way downtown.
It's not on, guys.
Yeah,
this is not what you do.
Well, there are now laws about it. They have to stop construction.
Yeah.
When they find something, and let the architects in.
Yep.
Didn't anybody ever see Poltergeist?
Yeah. Don't poke around down there. Who knows what's going to come out?
Should we start up again?
Oh, yes, we should. We're 2 minutes late. All right. Is everyone here?
I'm present.
Me too. Right.
Okay.
Let me go away again.
Present.
Ready?
All right.
Act 3, Scene 3. King Louis XI's palace in France.
Where is our king? Who is our king? That's a good question.
I'm looking at the sheet and I don't know if anyone was assigned him.
It certainly looks like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I need who is not in this scene.
You'll have to let me do it.
All righty.
Okay, so I have more than 17 lines in this thing. Fair Queen of England, worthy Margaret, sit down with us. It ill benefits thy state and birth that thou shouldst stand while Louis doth sit.
No, mighty King of France. Now Margaret must strike her sail and learn a while to serve while kings command. I was, I must confess, great Albion's queen in former golden days, but now mischance hath trod my title down, and with dishonour laid me on the ground, where I must take like seat unto my fortune, and to my humble seat conform myself.
Why, say, fair queen, whence springs this deep despair?
From such a cause as fills mine eyes with tears and stops my tongue while heart is drowned in cares.
Whate'er it be thou still like thyself, and sit thee by our side. Yield not thy neck to fortune's yoke, but let thy dauntless mind still ride in triumph over all mischief. Be plain, Queen Margaret, and tell thy grief. It should be eased if France can yield relief.
Those gracious words revive my drooping thoughts and give my tongue-tied sorrows leave to speak. Now, therefore, be it known to noble Lewis that Henry, sole possessor of my love, is of a king become a banished man and forced to live in Scotland, a forlorn, while proud, ambitious Edward, Duke of York, usurps the regal title and the seat of England's true anointed lawful king. This is the cause that I, poor Margaret, with this my son, Prince Edward, Henry's heir, am come to crave thy just and lawful aid. And if thou fail us, all our hope is done. Scotland hath will to help, but cannot help. Our people and our peers are both misled, our treasure seized, our soldiers put to flight, and as thou seest, ourselves in heavy plight.
Renowned queen, with patience calm the storm, while we bethinks a means to break it off.
The more we stay, the stronger grows our foe.
The more I say, the more I succor thee.
Oh, what impatience watch on true sorrow, and see where comes the breeder of my sorrow.
What's he approaches boldly to our presence?
Our Earl of Warwick, Edward's greatest friend.
Ah, welcome, brave Warwick. What brings thee to France?
Aye, now begins a second storm to rise, for this is he that moves both wind and tide.
From the worthy Edward, King of Albion, my lord and sovereign, and thy vowed friend, I come in kindness and unfeigned love, first to do greetings to thy royal person, and then to crave a league of amity, and lastly, to confirm that amity with nuptial knot, if thou vouchsafe to grant that virtuous Lady Bona, thy fair sister, to England's king in lawful marriage.
If that go forward, Henry's hope is done.
And, gracious madam, in our king's behalf, I am commanded with your leave and favor, humbly to kiss your hand, and with my tongue to tell the passion of my sovereign's heart, where fame, late entering at his heedful ears, hath placed thy beauty's image and thy virtue.
King Louis and Lady Bona, hear me speak before you answer Warwick. His demand springs not from Edward's well-meant honest love, but from deceit, bred by necessity. For how can tyrants safely govern home unless abroad they purchase great alliance? To prove him tyrant, this reason may suffice, that Henry liveth still, but were he dead, yet here Prince Edward stands, King Henry's son. Look therefore, Lewis, that by this league and marriage thou draw not on thy danger and dishonour, for though usurpers sway the rule awhile, yet heavens are just, and time suppresseth wrongs.
Injurious Margaret.
And why not queen?
Because thy father Henry did usurp, and now no more art prince than she is queen.
Then Warwick disannuls great John of Gaunt, which did subdue the greatest part of Spain. And after John of Gaunt, Henry IV, whose wisdom was a mirror to the wisest, and after that wise prince, Henry V, who by his prowess conquered all France. From these our Henry lineally descends.
Oxford, How haps it in this smooth discourse you told not how Henry the Sixth hath lost all that which Henry the Fifth had gotten? Methinks these peers of France should smile at that. But for the rest, you tell a pedigree of 62 years, a silly time to make prescription for a kingdom's worth.
Why, Warwick, canst thou speak against thy liege, whom thou obeyedst 36 years, and not bewray thy treason with a blush?
Can Oxford that did ever fence the right, now buckler falsehood with a pedigree? For shame, leave Henry, and call Edward king.
Call him my king, by whose injurious doom my elder brother, the Lord Aubrey Vere, was done to death? And more than so, my father, even in the downfall of his mellow years, when nature brought him to the door of death. No, Warwick, no. While life upholds this arm upholds the house of Lancaster.
And I, the house of York.
Queen Margaret, Prince Edward, and Oxford vouchsafe at our request to stand aside while I use further conference with Warwick.
Heavens grant that Warwick's words bewitch him not.
Now, Warwick, tell me, even upon thy conscience, is Edward your true king? For I would loath to link with him that would not lawful chosen.
Thereon I pawn my credit and mine honor.
But is he gracious in the people's eye?
The more that Henry was unfortunate.
Then further, all dissembling set aside, tell me for truth the measure of his love unto our sister Bona.
Such it seems as may beseem a monarch like himself. Myself have often heard him say and swear that this his love was an external plant, whereof the root was fixed in virtue's ground, and leaves and fruit maintained with beauty's sun, exempt from envy, but not from disdain, unless the Lady Bona quit his pain.
Now, sister, let us hear your firm resolve.
Your grant or your denial shall be mine. Yet I confess that often ere this day, when I have heard your king's desert recounted, mine ear hath tempted judgment to desire.
Then, Warwick, thus, our sister shall be Edward's, and now forthwith shall articles be drawn, touching the jointure that your king must make, which with her dowry shall be counterpoised. Draw near, Queen Margaret, and be a witness that Bona shall be wife to the English king.
To Edward, but not to the English king.
Deceitful Warwick! It was thy device by this alliance to make void my suit. Before thy coming, Lewis was Henry's friend.
And still is friend to him and Margaret. But if your title to the crown be weak, and it may appear by Edward's good success, then 'tis but reason that I be released from giving aid, which late I promised. Yet shall you have all the kindness at my hand that your estate requires, and mine can yield.
Henry now lives in Scotland at his ease, where having nothing can he lose. And as for you yourself, our quondam queen, you have a father able to maintain you, and better 'twere you troubled him than France.
Peace, impudent and shameless Warwick, proud setter up and puller down of kings. I will not hence, till with my talk and tears, both full of truth, I make King Lewis behold thy sly conveyance and thy lord's false love. For both of you are birds of self-same feather.
Warwick, this is some post to us or thee?
My Lord Ambassador, these letters are for you, sent from your brother, Marquess Montague. These from our king unto your majesty, and madam, these for you, from whom I know not.
I like it well that our fair queen and mistress smiles at her news, while Warwick frowns at his.
Nay, mark how Lewis stamps as he were nettled. I hope all's for the best.
Warwick, what are thy news, and yours, fair queen?
Mine such as fill my heart with unhoped joys.
Mine full of sorrow and heart's discontent.
What? Has your king married the Lady Grey? And now to soothe your forgery and his sends me a paper to persuade me, my patience. Is this the alliance that he seeks with France? Dare he presume to scorn us in this manner?
I told your majesty as much before. This proveth Edward's love and Warwick's honesty.
King Louis, I here protest in sight of heaven, and by the hope I have of heavenly bliss, that I am clear from this misdeed of Edward's. No more my king, for he dishonors me, but most himself, if he could see his shame. Did I forget that by the house of York my father came untimely to his death? Did I let pass the abuse done to my niece? Did I impale him with the regal crown? Did I put Henry from his native right? And am I guerdoned at the last with shame? Oh, shame on himself, for my desert is honor. And to repair my honor lost for him, I here renounce him and return to Henry. My noble queen, let former grudges pass, and henceforth I am thy true servitor. I will revenge his wrong to Lady Bona and replant Henry in his former state.
Warwick, these words have turned my hate to love, and I forgive and quite forget old faults, and joy that thou becomest King Henry's friend.
So much his friend, I, his unfeigned friend, that if King Louis vouchsafe to furnish us with some few bands of chosen soldiers, I'll undertake to land them on our coast and force the tyrant from his seat by war. 'Tis not his new-made bride shall succor him. And as for Clarence, as my letters tell me, he's very likely now to fall from him for matching more than for wanton lust, than honor, or than for strength and safety of our country.
Dear brother, how shall Bona be revenged but by thy help to this distressed queen?
Renowned prince, how shall poor Henry live unless thou rescue him from foul despair?
My quarrel and this English queen's are one.
And mine, fair Lady Bona, joined with yours.
And mine with hers, and thine, and Margaret's. Therefore, at last, I firmly am resolved, you shall have aid.
Let me give humble thanks for all at once.
Then, England's messenger, return in post, and tell false Edward, thy supposed king, that Louis of France is sending over maskers to revel it with him and his new bride. Thou seest what's past. Go fear thy king withal.
Tell him in hope he'll prove a widower shortly. I wear the willow garland for his sake.
Tell him my mourning weeds are laid aside, and I am ready to put armor on.
Tell him from me that he hath done me wrong, and therefore I'll uncrown him ere it be long. There's thy reward. Go, be gone.
But Warwick, thou and Oxford with 5,000 men shall cross the seas and bid false Edward battle. And as occasion serves, this noble queen and prince shall follow with a fresh supply. Yet ere thou go, but answer me one doubt. What pledge have we of thy firm loyalty?
This shall assure my constant loyalty, that if our queen and this young prince agree, I'll join my eldest daughter and my joy to him forthwith in holy wedlock bands.
Yes, I agree, and thank you for your motion. Son Edward, she is fair and virtuous. Therefore delay not, give thy hand to Warwick, and with thy hand thy faith irrevocable, that only Warwick's daughter shall be thine.
Yes, I accept her, for she well deserves it, and here to pledge my vow, I give my hand.
Why stay we now? These soldiers shall be levied, and thou, Lord Bourbon, our High Admiral, shall waft them over with our royal fleet. I long till Edward fall by war's mischance for mocking marriage with a dame of France.
I came from Edward as ambassador, but I return his sworn and mortal foe. Matter of marriage was the charge he gave me, but dreadful war shall answer his demand. Had he none else to make us stale but me, then none but I shall turn his jest to sorrow. I was the chief that raised him to the crown, and I'll be chief to bring him down again. Not that I pity Henry's misery, but seek revenge on Edward's mockery.
Act 4. Scene 1, a palace in London.
Now, tell me, brother Clarence, what think you of this new marriage with the Lady Grey? Hath not our brother made a worthy choice?
Alas, you know 'tis far from hence to France. How could he stay till Warwick made return?
My lords, forbear this talk. Here comes the king.
And his well-chosen bride.
I mind to tell him plainly what I think.
Now, brother Clarence, how like you our choice, that you stand pensive as half malcontent?
As well as Louis of France, or the Earl of Warwick, which are so weak of courage and in judgment that they'll take no offense at our abuse.
Suppose they take offense without a cause. They are but Louis and Warwick. I am Edward, your king and Warwick's, and must have my will.
And shall have your will, because our king. Yet hasty marriage seldom proveth well.
Yea, brother Richard, are you offended too?
No, not I, no. God forbid that I should wish to sever whom God hath joined together. Aye, and 'twere pity to sunder them that yoke so well together.
Setting your scorns and your mislike aside, tell me some reason why the Lady Grey should not become my wife and England's queen. And you too, Somerset and Montague, speak freely what you will.
Then this is mine opinion, that King Louis becomes our enemy for mocking him about the marriage of Lady Bona.
And Warwick, doing what you gave in charge, is now dishonored by this new marriage.
What if both Louis and Warwick be appeased by such invention as I can devise?
Yet to have joined with France in such alliance would more have strengthened this our commonwealth against foreigners than any homebred marriage.
Why knows not Montague that of itself England is safe, if true within itself?
But the safer when 'tis backed with France.
It is better using France than trusting France. Let us be backed with God and with the seas, which he hath given for fence impregnable, and with their helps only defend ourselves. In them and in ourselves our safety lies.
Oh, for this one speech, Lord Hastings well deserves to have the air of the Lord of Hungerford.
And what of that? It was my will and grant, and for this once my will shall stand for law.
And yet, methinks, your grace hath not done well to give the heir and daughter of Lord Scales unto the brother of your loving bride. She better would have fitted me, or Clarence, but in your bride you buried brotherhood.
Or else you would not have bestowed the heir of Lord Bonneville upon your new wife's son, and leave your brothers to go speed elsewhere.
Alas, poor Clarence, is it for a wife that thou art malcontent? I will provide thee.
In choosing for yourself, you show your judgment, which being shallow, you shall give me leave to play the broker on my own behalf. And to that end, I shortly mind to leave you.
Leave me, or tarry. Edward will be king, and not be tied unto his brother's will.
My lords, before it please his majesty to raise my state to title of a queen, do me but right, and you must all confess that I was not ignoble of descent, and meaner than myself have had like fortune, but as this title honors me and mine, so your dislikes, to whom I would be pleasing, doth cloud my joys with danger and with sorrow.
My love, forbear to fawn upon their frowns. What danger or what sorrow can befall thee, as so long as Edward is thy constant friend and their true sovereign, whom they must obey. Nay, whom they shall obey, and love thee too, unless they seek for hatred at my hands. Which if they do, yet will I keep thee safe, and they shall feel the vengeance of my wrath.
I hear, yet say not much, but think the more.
Now, messenger, what letters, what news from France?
My sovereign liege, no letters and few words, but such as I, without your special pardon, dare not relate.
Go to, we pardon thee. Therefore, in brief, tell me their words as near as thou canst guess them. What answers makes King Louis unto our letters?
At my depart, these were his words. Go tell false Edward, the supposed king, that Louis of France is sending over maskers to revel it with him and his new bride.
Is Louis so brave? Me, belike he thinks me Henry. But what said Lady Bona to my marriage?
These were her words, uttered with mild disdain. Tell him in hope he'll prove a widower shortly. I'll wear the widow garland for his sake.
I blame not her. She could say little less. She had the wrong, but what said Henry's queen? For I have heard that she was there in place.
Tell him, quoth she, my mourning weeds are done, and I am ready to put armor on.
Belike she minds to play the Amazon. But what said Warwick to these injuries?
He, more incensed against your majesty than all the rest, discharged me with these words. Tell him from me that he hath done me wrong, and therefore I'll uncrown him ere it be long.
Huh. Durst the traitor breathe out so proud words? Well, I will arm me. Being thus forewarned, they shall have wars and pay for their presumption. But say, is Warwick friends with Margaret?
Aye, gracious sovereign. They are so linked in friendship that young Prince Edward marries Warwick's daughter.
Belike the elder, Clarence will have the younger. Now, brother king, farewell. Sit you fast, for I will hence to Warwick's other daughter, that though I want a kingdom, yet in marriage I may prove not inferior to yourself. You that love me, and Warwick, follow me.
Not I. My thoughts aim at a further matter. I stay not for the love of Edward, but for the crown.
Clarence and Somerset both gone to Warwick. Yet am I armed against the worst can happen, and haste is needful in this desperate case. Pembroke and Stafford, you in our behalf go levy men and make prepare for war. They are all ready, or quickly will be landed. Myself in person will straight follow you. But ere I go, Hastings and Montague, resolve my doubt. You twain of all the rest are near to Warwick, my blood and by alliance. Tell me if you love Warwick more than me. If it be so, then both depart to him. I rather wish you foes than hollow friends. But if you mind to hold your true obedience, give me assurance with some friendly vow that I may never have you in suspect.
So God help Montague as he proves true.
And Hastings as he favors Edward's cause.
Now, brother Richard, will you stand by us?
Aye, in despite of all that shall withstand you.
Why so? Then am I sure of victory. Now therefore let us hence and lose no hour, till we meet Warwick with his foreign power.
Scene 2. A plain in Warwickshire.
Trust me, my lord, all hitherto goes well. The common people by numbers swarm to us. But see where Somerset and Clarence comes. Speak suddenly, my lords. Are we all friends?
Fear not that, my lord.
Then, gentle Clarence, welcome unto Warwick, and welcome Somerset. I will hold it cowardice to rest mistrustful, where a noble heart hath pawned an open hand in sign of love. Else might I think that Clarence, Edward's brother, were but a feigned friend to our proceedings. But welcome, sweet Clarence, my daughter shall be thine. And now what rests? But in night's coverture, thy brother being scarcely encamped, his soldiers lurking in the town about, and but attended by a simple guard, we may surprise and take him at our pleasure. Our scouts have found the very adventure easy, that as Ulysses and stout Diomed with sleight and manhood stole to Rhesus' tents, and brought from thence the Thracian fatal steeds. So we, well covered with the knight's black mantle, at unawares may beat down Edward's guards and seize himself. I say not slaughter him, for I intend but only to surprise him. You that will follow me to this attempt, applaud the name of Henry with your leader. Why then, let's on our way in silent sort for Warwick and his friends, God and St. George.
Scene 3. Edward's camp, near Warwick.
Come on, my masters, each man take his stand. The king by this is set him down to sleep.
What, will he not to bed?
Why, no, for he hath made a solemn vow never to lie and take his natural rest till Warwick or himself be quite suppressed.
Oh, tomorrow then belike shall be the day, if Warwick be so near as men report.
What say, I pray, what nobleman is that with the king here resteth in his tent?
'Tis the Lord Hastings, the king's chiefest friend.
Oh, is it so? But why commands the king that his chief followers lodge in towns about him, while he himself keeps in the cold field?
Oh, 'tis the more honour, because more dangerous.
Aye, but give me worship and quietness. I like it better than a dangerous honour. If Warwick knew in what estate he stands, 'tis to be doubted if he would waken him.
Unless our halberds did shut up his passage.
Aye, wherefore else guard we his royal tent, but to defend his person from night foes?
This is his tent, and see where stand his guard. Courage, masters, honor now or never, but follow me and Edward shall be ours.
Who goes there?
Stay, or thou diest.
On.
Fly there. What are they that fly there?
Richard and Hastings, let them go. Here is the Duke.
The Duke? Why, Warwick, when we parted, thou calledst me king.
Aye, but the case is altered. When you disgraced me in my embassy, then I degraded you from being king, and come now to create you Duke of York. Alas, how should you govern any kingdom that know not how to use ambassadors, nor how to be contented with one wife, nor how to use your brothers brotherly, nor how to study for the people's welfare, nor how to shroud yourself from enemies?
Yea, brother of Clarence, art thou here too? Nay, then I see that Edward needs must down. Yet Warwick, and despite of all mischance of thee, myself, and all thy accomplices, Edward will always bear himself as king. Though fortune's malice overthrow my state, my mind exceeds the compass of her wheel.
Then for his mind be Edward England's king. But Henry now shall wear the English crown and be true king indeed, thou but the shadow. My lord of Somerset, at my request, see that forthwith Duke Edward be conveyed unto my brother Archbishop of York. When I have fought with Pembroke and his fellows, I'll follow you and tell what answer Lewis and the Lady Bona send to him. Now for a while, farewell, good Duke of York.
What fates impose, that men must needs abide. It boots not to resist both wind and tide.
What now remains, my lords, for us to do but march to London with our soldiers?
Aye, that's the first thing that we have to do, to free King Henry from imprisonment and see him seated in the regal throne.
Scene 4, a palace in London.
Madam, what makes you in this sudden change?
My brother Rivers, are you yet to learn what late misfortune is befallen King Edward?
What loss of son pitched battle against Warwick?
No, but the loss of his own royal person.
And is my sovereign slain?
I almost slain, for he is taken prisoner, either betrayed by falsehood of his guard, or by his foe surprised at unawares. And as I further have to understand, is new committed to the Bishop of York, fell Warwick's brother, and by that our foe.
This news, I must confess, are full of grief. Yet, gracious madam, bear it as you may, Warwick may lose that now hath won the day.
Till then fair hope must hinder lives' decay, and I the rather wane me from the despair for love of Edward's offspring in my womb. This is it that makes me bridle passion, and bear with mildness my misfortune's cross. I for this I draw in many a tear, and the stop rising of blood-sucking sighs, least with my sighs or tears I blast or drown King Edward's fruit true here to the English crown.
Madam, where is Warwick then become?
I am informed that he comes towards London to set the crown once more on Henry's head. Guess thou the rest, King Edward's friends must down. But to prevent the tyrant's violence, for trust not him that hath once broken faith, I'll henceforth with into the sanctuary, to save at least the heir of Edward's right. There shall I rest secure from force and fraud. Come, therefore, let us fly while we may fly. If Warwick takes us, we are sure to die.
Scene 5, a park in Yorkshire.
Now, my Lord Hastings and Sir William Stanley, leave off to wonder why I drew you hither into this chiefest thicket of the park. Thus stands the case. You know our king, my brother, is prisoner to the bishop here, at whose hands he hath good usage and great liberty, and often but attended weak guard. Come, hunting this way to disport himself. I have advertised him by secret means, that if about this hour he make this way under the colour of his usual game, he shall here find his friends, with horse and men, to set him free from his captivity.
This way, my lord, for this way lies the game.
Nay, this way, man. See where the huntsmen stand. Now, brother of Gloucester, Lord Hastings, and the rest, send you thus close to steal the bishop's deer.
Brother, the time and case require. Your horse stands ready at the park corner.
But whither shall we then?
To Lynn, my lord, and then ship from thence to Flanders.
Well, yes, believe me, for that was my meaning.
Stanley, I will requite thy forwardness.
But wherefore stay we? No, 'tis no time to talk.
Huntsman, what sayest thou? Wilt thou go along?
Better do so than tarry and behind.
Come away then, but let them no more adieu.
Bishop, farewell. Shield thee from Warwick's frown, and pray that I may repose the crown.
Scene 6, the Tower of London.
Master Lieutenant, now that God and friends have shaken Edward from the regal seat and turned my captive state to liberty, my fear to hope, my sorrows unto joys, at our enlargement, what are thy due fees?
Subjects may challenge nothing of their sovereigns, but if an humble prayer may prevail, I then crave pardon of your majesty.
For what, Lieutenant? For well using me? Nay, be thou sure I'll well requite thy kindness, for that it made my imprisonment a pleasure. Such a pleasure as encaged birds conceive when, after many moody thoughts, at last by notes of household harmony, they quite forget their loss of liberty. But Warwick, after God thou sett'st me free, and chiefly therefore I thank God and thee. He was the author, thou the instrument. Therefore, that I may conquer fortune's spite by living low where fortune cannot hurt me, and that the people of this blessed land may not be punished with my thwarting stares, Warwick, although my head still wear the crown, I here resign my government to thee, for thou art fortunate in all thy deeds.
Your grace hath still been famed for virtuous, and now may seem as wise as virtuous, by spying and avoiding fortune's malice, for few men rightly temper with the stars. Yet in this one thing, let me blame your grace for choosing me when Clarence is in place.
Oh, no, Warwick, thou art worthy of the sway, to whom the heavens in thy nativity adjudged an olive branch and a laurel crown, as likely to be blessed in peace and war, and therefore I yield thee my free consent.
And I choose Clarence only for protector.
Warwick and Clarence, give me both your hands. Now join your hands, and with your hands your hearts, that no dissension hinder government. I make you both protectors of this land, while I myself will lead a private life and in devotion spend my later days to sin's rebuke and my Creator's praise.
What answers Clarence to his sovereign's will?
That he consents, if Warwick yield consent, for on thy fortune I repose myself.
Why then, though loath, yet must I be content. We'll yoke together like a double shadow to Henry's body and supply his place. I mean, in bearing weight of government, while he enjoys the honor and his ease. And Clarence, now then it is more than needful, forthwith that Edward be pronounced a traitor, and all his lands and goods confiscate.
What else? And that secession should be determined.
Aye, therein Clarence shall not want his part.
But with the first of all your chief affairs, let me entreat, for I command no more, that Margaret, your queen, and my son, Edward, be sent for, to return from France with speed. For till I see them here, my doubtful fear, my joy of liberty is half eclipsed.
It shall be done, my sovereign, with all speed.
My lord of Somerset, what youth is that of whom you seem to have so tender care?
My liege, it is young Henry, Earl of Richmond.
Come hither, England's hope. If secret powers suggest but truth to my divining thoughts, this pretty lad will prove our country's bliss. His looks are full of peaceful majesty, his head by nature framed to wear a crown, his hand to wield a scepter, and himself likely in time to bless a regal throne. Make much of him, my lords, for this is he must help you more than you are hurt by me.
What news, my friend?
That Edward has escaped from your brother and fled, as he hears since, to Burgundy.
Unsavory news. But how made he escape?
He was conveyed by Richard, Duke of Gloucester, and the Lord Hastings, who attended him in secret ambush on the forest side, and from the bishop's huntsmen rescued him, for hunting was his daily exercise.
My brother was too careless of his charge. But let us hence, my sovereign, to provide a salve for any sore that may betide.
My lord, I like not of this flight of the Edwards, for doubtless Burgundy will yield him help, and we shall more wars before it be long, as Henry's late presaging prophecy did glad my heart with hope of this young Richmond. So doth my heart misgive me in these conflicts what may befall him to his harm and ours. Therefore, Lord Oxford, to prevent the worst, forthwith we'll send him hence to Brittany, till storms be past of civil enmity.
Aye, for if Edward repossess the crown, 'tis like that Richmond with the rest shall down.
It shall be so. He shall to Brittany. Come, therefore, let's about it speedily.
Scene 7, at the gates of York.
Now, brother Richard, Lord Hastings and the rest, yet thus for far fortune maketh us amends, and says that once more I shall interchange my waned state for Henry's regal crown. Well have we passed and now repassed the seas, and brought desired help from Burgundy. What then remains, we being thus arrived from Ravensburg haven before the gates of York, but that we enter as into our dukedom.
The gates made fast, brother. I like not this. For many men that stumble at the threshold are well foretold that danger lurks within.
Tush, man, abodements must not now affright us. By fair or foul means we must enter in, for hither will our friends repair us.
My liege, I'll knock once more to summon them.
My lord, we were forewarned of your coming and shut the gates for safety of ourselves. For now we owe allegiance unto Henry.
But Master Mayor, if Henry be your king, yet Edward at the least is Duke of York.
True, my good lord, I know you for no less.
Why, and I challenge nothing but my dukedom, as being well content with that alone.
But when the fox hath once got into his nose, he'll soon find means to make his body follow.
Why, Master Mayor, why stand you in a doubt? Open the gates, we are King Henry's friends.
I say you, so the gate shall then be opened.
A wise, stout captain, and soon persuaded.
The good old man would fain that all were well, so 'twere not long of him. That being entered, I doubt not I, but we shall soon persuade both him and all his brothers unto reason.
So, Master Mayor, these gates must not be shut, but in the night, or in the time of war. What? Fear not man, but yield me up the keys. For Edward will defend the town and thee, and all those friends that deign to follow me.
Brother, this is Sir John Montgomerie, our trusty friend, unless I be deceived.
Welcome, Sir John. But why come you in arms? Sir John?
Please indicate to me the page upon which I speak.
114.
One moment, please, because of technical difficulty.
Sure. Your lines at the bottom says to help King Edward in his time of storm as a loyal subject.
But my script left me. One moment, please. To help King Edward in this time of storm, as every loyal subject ought to do.
Thanks, good Montgomerie, but we now forget our title to the crown and only claim our dukedom till God please to send the rest.
Then fare you well, for I will hence again. I came to serve a king and not a duke. Drummers, strike up and let us away.
Nay, stay, Sir John, a while, and we'll debate by what safe means the crown may be recovered.
What talk you of debating? In few words, if you'll not here proclaim yourself our king, I'll leave you to your fortune and be gone, to keep them back that come to succor you. Why shall we fight if you pretend no title?
Why, brother, wherefore stand you at nice points?
When we grow stronger, then we'll make our claim. Till then, 'tis wisdom to conceal our meaning.
Away with scrupulous wit, now arms must rule.
And fearless minds climb soonest into crowns. Brother, we will proclaim you out of hand. The bruits thereof will bring you many friends.
Then be it as you will, for 'tis my right, and Henry but usurps the diadem.
Aye, now my sovereign speaketh like himself, and now will I be Edward's champion.
Sound trumpet, Edward shall be here proclaimed. Come, fellow soldier, make thy proclamation.
Edward IV, by the grace of God, King of England and France, and Lord of Ireland, etc.
And whosoe'er gainsays King Edward's right, by this I challenge him to single fight. Long live Edward IV!
Thanks, brave Montgomerie, and thanks unto you all. If fortune serves me, I'll requite this kindness. For now, for this night, let's harbor here in York, and when the morning sun shall rise his car above the broader border of this horizon, we'll forward towards Warwick and his mates. For well I wot that Henry is no soldier. And froward Clarence, how evil it beseems thee to flatter Henry and forsake thy brother. Yet, as we may, we'll meet both thee and Warwick. Come on, brave soldiers, doubt not of the day, and that once gotten, doubt not of large pay.
Scene 8. Palace in London.
What counsel, lords? Edward from Belgia with hasty Germans and blunt Hollanders hath passed in safety through the narrow seas, and with his troops doth march amain to London, and many giddy people flock to him.
Let's levy men and beat him back again.
A little fire is quickly trodden out, which being suffered, rivers cannot quench.
In Warwickshire I have true-hearted friends, not mutinous in peace, yet bold in war. Those will I muster up. And thou, son Clarence, shalt stir up in Suffolk, Norfolk, and in Kent the knights and gentlemen to come with thee. Thou, brother Montague, in Buckingham, Northampton, and in Leicestershire, shalt find men well inclined to hear what thou commandst. And thou, brave Oxford, wondrous well beloved, in Oxfordshire shalt muster up thy friends, my sovereign, with the loving citizens like to his land, island, girt in with the ocean, or modest Diane, circled with her nymphs, shall rest in London till we come to him. Fair lords, take leave, and stand not to reply. Farewell, my sovereign.
Farewell, my Hector, and my Troy's true hope.
In sign of truth, I kiss your highness' hand.
Well-minded Clarence, be thou fortunate.
Farewell, sweet lords, let's meet at Coventry.
Wait, all right.
Sweet Oxford and my loving Montague, and all at once more, a happy farewell.
And thus I seal my truth and bid adieu.
Here at the palace will I rest a while. Cousin of Exeter, what thinks your lordship? Methinks the power that Edward hath in field should not be able to encounter mine.
Doubt is that he will seduce the rest.
That's not my fear. My meed hath got me fame. I have not stopped mine ears to their demands, nor posted off their suits with slow delays. My pity hath been balm to heal their wounds. My mildness hath allayed their swelling griefs. My mercy dried their water-flowing tears. I have not been desirous of their wealth, nor much oppressed them with great subsidies, nor forward of revenge, though they much erred. Why should they love Edward more than me? No, Exeter, these graces challenge grace, and when the lion fawns upon the lamb will never cease to follow him.
Hark, my lord, what shouts are these?
Seize on the shamefaced Henry, bear him hence, and once again proclaim us King of England. You are the fount that makes small brooks to flow. Now stops thy spring, my sea shall suck them dry, and swell so much higher by their ebb. Hence with him to the tower, let him not speak. And lords, towards Coventry bend we our course, where peremptory Warwick now remains. The sun shines hot, and if we use delay, cold biting winter mars our hope for hay.
Away betimes before the forces join, and take the great-grown traitor unawares. Brave warriors, march amain towards Coventry.
Act 5. Scene 1, the city of Coventry in Warwickshire.
Where is the post that came from valiant Oxford? How far hence is thy lord, mine honest fellow?
By this at Dunsmore marching hitherward.
How far off is our brother Montague? Where is the post that came from Montague?
By this at Daintree with a puissant troop.
Say, Somervile, what says my loving son? And by thy guess, how nigh is Clarence now?
At Southam did I leave him with his forces, and do expect him here some 2 hours hence.
Then Clarence is at hand. I hear his drum.
It is not his, my lord. Here Southam lies. The drum your honour hears marcheth from Warwick.
Who should that be? Belike unlooked for friends.
They are at hand, and you shall quickly know.
Go, trumpet to the walls and sound a parley.
See how the surly Warwick commands the wall.
Oh, unbid spite is sportful Edward come. Where slept our scouts? Oh, how are they seduced that we could hear no news of his repair?
Now, Warwick, wilt thou ope the city gates? Speak gentle words and humbly bend thy knee. Call Edward king, and at his hands beg mercy, and we shall pardon thee these outrages.
Nay, rather wilt thou draw thy forces hence, confess who set thee up and pluck thee down, call Warwick patron, and be penitent, and thou shalt still remain the Duke of York.
I thought at least he would have said the king. Or did he make the jest against his will?
Is not a dukedom, sir, a goodly gift?
I, by my faith, for a poor earl to give, I'll do thee service for so good a gift.
'Twas I that gave the kingdom to thy brother.
Why then 'tis mine, if but by Warwick's gift.
Thou art no Atlas for so great a weight, and weakling, Warwick takes his gift again, and Henry is my king, Warwick his subject.
But Warwick's king is Edward's prisoner, and gallant Warwick, do but answer this. What is the body when the head is off?
Alas, that Warwick hath no more forecast, but whilst he thought to steal the single 10, the king was slyly fingered from the deck. You left poor Henry at the bishop's palace, and 10 to 1, you'll meet him in the tower.
'Tis even so, yet you are Warwick still.
Come, Warwick, take thy time, kneel down. Kneel down, nay when? Strike now, or else the iron cools.
I had rather chop this hand off at a blow, and with the other fling it at thy face, than bear so low a sail to strike to thee.
Sail how thou canst. Have wind and tide thy friend. This hand fast wound about thy coal-black hair shall, whilst thy head is warm and new caught off, write in the dust this sentence with thy blood. Wind-changing Warwick now can change no more.
Oh, cheerful colors, see where Oxford comes.
Oxford for Lancaster.
Gates are open, let us enter too.
So other foes may set upon our backs. Stand we in good array, for they no doubt will issue out again and bid us battle. If not, the city being but of small defense will quickly rouse the traitors in the same.
Oh, welcome, Oxford, for we want thy help.
Montague for Lancaster.
Thou and thy brother shall buy this treason, even with the dearest blood your bodies bear.
The harder match to the greater victory. My mind presageth happy gain and conquest.
Somerset for Lancaster.
2 of thy name, both dukes of Somerset, have sold their lives unto the house of York, and thou shalt be the third if this sword hold.
And lo, where George of Clarence sweeps along, of force enough to bid his brother battle, with whom, in upright zeal to right, prevails more than the nature of a brother's love. Come, Clarence, come, thou wilt if Warwick call.
Father of Warwick, know you what this means? Look here, I throw my infamy at thee. I will not ruinate my father's house, who gave his blood to lime and stones together to set up Lancaster? Why trost thou, Warwick, that Clarence is so harsh, so blunt, unnatural, to bend the fatal instruments of war against a brother and his lawful king? Perhaps you will object my holy oath. To keep that oath were more in piety than Jephthah when he sacrificed his daughter. I am so sorry for my trespass made, that to deserve well at my brother's hands, here I proclaim myself thy mortal foe, with resolution wheresoe'er I meet thee, as I will meet thee, if thou stir abroad, to plague thee for thy foul misleading me. And so, proud-hearted Warwick, I defy thee, and to my brother, turn my blushing cheeks. Pardon me, Edward, I will make amends, and Richard, do not frown upon my faults, for I will henceforth be no more unconstant.
Now welcome more, and 10 times more beloved than if thou never hadst deserved our hate.
Welcome, good Clarence. This is brother-like.
Oh, passing traitor, perjured and unjust.
What, Warwick? Wilt thou leave the town and fight, or shall we beat the stones with thine ears?
Alas, I am not cooped here for defense. I will away towards Barnet presently and bid thee battle, Edward, if thou darest.
Yes, Warwick, Edward dares and leads the way. Lords, to the field! St. George and victory!
Scene 2, a battlefield near London.
So lie thou there, die thou, and die our fear. For Warwick was a bug that feared us all. Now, Montague, sit fast. I seek for thee, that Warwick's bones may keep thine company.
Ah, who is nigh? Come to me, friend or foe, and tell me who is victor, York or Warwick? Why ask I that? My mangled body shows my blood, my want of strength, my sick heart shows that I must yield my body to the earth, and by my fall, the conquest to my foe. Thus yields the cedar to the axe's edge, whose arms gave shelter to the princely eagle, under whose shade the ramping lion slept, whose top branch overpeered Jove's spreading tree, and kept low shrubs from winter's powerful wind. These eyes, that now are dimmed with death's black veil, have been as piercing as the midday sun to search the secret treasons of the world. The wrinkles in my brows, now filled with blood, were likened oft to kingly sepulchres. For who lived king, but I could dig his grave? And who durst smile when Warwick bent his brow? Lo, now my glory smeared in dust and blood. My parks, my walks, my manners that I had, even now forsake me. And of all my lands is nothing left me but my body's length. Why, what is pomp, rule, reign, but earth and dust? And live we how we can, yet die we must.
Ah, Warwick, Warwick, were thou as we are, we might recover all loss again. The Queen from France hath brought a puissant power. Even now we heard the news. Ah, couldst thou fly?
Why, then I would not fly. Ah, Montague, if thou be there, sweet brother, take my hand, and with thy lips keep in my soul a while. Thou lovest me not, for, brother, if thou didst, thy tears would wash this cold congealed blood that glues my lips and will not let me speak. Come quickly, Montague, or I am dead.
Ah, Warwick, Montague hath breathed his last, and to the latest gasp cried out for Warwick, and said, commend me to my valiant brother. And more he would have said, and more he spoke, that might not be distinguished, but at last I well might hear, delivered with a groan. Oh, farewell, Warwick.
Sweet rest his soul. Fly, lords, and save yourselves, for Warwick bids you all farewell to meet in heaven.
Away, away to meet the Queen's great power.
Scene 3, the same.
Thus far, our fortune keeps an upward course, and we are graced with wreaths of victory. But in the midst of this bright shining day, I spy a black, suspicious, threatening cloud that will encounter with our glorious sun ere he attain his easeful western bed. I mean, my lords, those powers that the Queen hath raised in Gallia have arrived our coast, and as we hear, march on to fight with us.
A little gale will soon disperse that cloud and blow it to the source from whence it came. Thy very beams will dry those vapors up, for every cloud engenders not a storm.
The Queen is valued 30,000 strong, and Somerset and with Oxford fled to her. If she have time to breathe, be well assured, her faction will be full as strong as ours.
We are advertised by our loving friends that they do hold their course towards Tewkesbury. We, having now the best at Barnet Field, will thither straight, for willingness rides away. And as we march, our strength will be augmented in every county as we go along. Strike up the drum, cry courage, and away.
Scene 4, a battlefield in Gloucestershire.
Great lords, wise men ne'er sit and wail their loss, but cheerly seek how to redress their harms. What though the mast now be blown overboard, the cable broke, the holding anchor lost, and half our sailors swallowed in the flood? Yet lives our pilot still. Or is't meet that he should leave the helm, and like a fearful lad with tearful eyes add water to the sea, and give more strength to that which hath too much, whilst in his moan the ship splits on the rock? Which industry and courage might have saved. Ah, what a shame. Oh, what a fault were they. Say Warwick was our anchor, what of that? And Montague our topmast, what of him? Our slaughtered friends, the tackles, what of these? Why, is not Oxford here another anchor? And Somerset, another goodly mast, the friends of France, our shrouds and tacklings. And though unskilful, why not Ned and I for once allowed the skilful pilot's charge? We will not from the helm to sit and weep, but keep our course, though the rough winds say no, from shelves and rocks that threaten us with wrack. As good to chide the waves as speak them fair. And what is Edward but a ruthless sea? What Clarence but a quicksand of deceit? And Richard but a ragged fatal rock? All these the enemies to our poor bark. You say you can swim. Alas, 'tis but a while. Tread in the sand, and there you quickly sink. Bestride the rock, the tide will wash you off. Or else you famish, there's a threefold death. This speak I, lords, to let you understand, in case some one of you would fly from us, that there's no hoped for mercy with the brothers, more than with ruthless waves, with sands and rocks. Why, courage then, what cannot be avoided, to childish weakness to lament or fear.
Methinks a woman of this valiant spirit should, if a coward heard her speak these words, infuse his breast with magnanimity, and make him naked, foil a man at arms. I speak not this as doubting any here, for did I but suspect a fearful man, he should have leave to go away betimes, least in our need he might infect another, and make him of like spirit to himself. If any such be here, as God forbid, let him depart before we need his help.
Women and children of so high a courage, and warriors faint, why, 'twere perpetual shame. O brave young prince, thy famous grandfather doth live again in thee. Long mayst thou live to bear his image and renew his glories.
And he that will not fight for such a hope, go home to bed, and like the owl by day, if he arise, be mocked and wondered at.
Thanks, gentle Somerset. Sweet Oxford, thanks.
And take his thanks, that yet hath nothing else.
Prepare ye, lords, for Edward is at hand, ready to fight. Therefore be resolute.
I thought no less. It is his policy to haste thus fast, to find us unprovided.
But he's deceived. We are in readiness.
This cheers my heart to see your forwardness.
Here pitch our battle. Hence we will not budge.
Brave followers, yonder stands the thorny wood, which by the heavens' assistance and your strength must by the roots be hewn up, yet ere night. I need not add more fuel to your fire, for well I wot ye blaze to burn them out. Give signal to the fight, and to it, lords!
Lords, knights, and gentlemen, what I should say, my tears gainsay. For every word I speak, ye see, I drink the water of mine eye. Therefore, no more but this. Henry, your sovereign, is prisoner to the foe, his state usurped, his realm a slaughterhouse, his subjects slain, his statutes cancelled, and his treasures spent. And yonder is the wolf that makes this spoil. You fight injustice. Then in God's name, lords, be valiant and give signal to the fight.
Scene 5, the battlefield near London.
Away with Oxford to Hames Castle straight for Somerset. Off with his guilty head. Go, bear them hence. I will not hear them speak.
For my part, I'll not trouble thee with words.
Nor I, but stoop with patience to my fortune.
So part we sadly in this troublous world to meet with joy in sweet Jerusalem.
Proclamation made that who finds Edward shall have a high reward, and he his life.
It is, and lo, where youthful Edward comes.
Bring forth the gallon, let us hear him speak. What, can so young a thorn begin to prick? Edward, what satisfaction canst thou make for bearing arms, for stirring up my subjects, and all the trouble thou hast turned me to?
Speak like a subject, proud, ambitious York. Suppose that I am now my father's mouth, resign thy chair, and where I stand, kneel thou, whilst I propose the selfsame words to thee, which, traitor, thou wouldst have me answer to.
Ah, that thy father had been so resolved.
That you might have still worn the petticoat, and ne'er have stolen the breech from Lancaster.
Let Aesop fable in a winter's night, his currish riddles sorts not with this place.
By heaven, brat, I'll plague ye for that word.
Aye, thou was born to be a plague to men.
For God's sake, take away the captain's scold.
Nay, take away this scolding crookback rather.
Peace, willful boy, or I will charm your tongue.
Untutored lad, thou art too malapert.
I know my duty. You are all undutiful. Lascivious Edward, and thou perjured George, and thou misshapen Dick. I tell ye all, I am your better, traitors as you are, and thou usurpst my father's right and mine.
Take that, thou likeness of this railer's here.
Sprawlst thou? Take that to end thy agony.
And theirs for twitting me with perjury.
Oh, kill me too.
Arian shall.
Hold, Richard, hold. For we have done too much.
Why should she live? To fill the world with words.
What doth she swoon? Use means for her recovery.
Clarence, excuse me to the king my brother. I'll hence to London on a serious matter. Ere ye come there, be sure to hear some news.
What? What?
Tower, the tower.
Oh, Ned. Sweet Ned, speak to thy mother, boy. Canst thou not speak? Thou traitors! Murderers! They that stabbed Caesar shed no blood at all, did not offend, nor were not worthy blame, if this foul deed were by to equal it. He was a man. This in respect a child. And men ne'er spend their fury on a child. What's worse than a murderer that I may name it? No, no, my heart will burst if I speak. And I will speak, that so my heart may burst. Butchers and villains, bloody cannibals, how sweet a plant have you untimely cropped. You have no children, butchers. If you had, the thought of them would have stirred up remorse. But if you ever chance to have a child, look in his youth to have him so cut off as deathsman you have rid this sweet young prince.
Away with her, go. Bear her hence perforce.
Never bear me hence. Dispatch me here. Here, sheath thy sword. I'll pardon thee my death. What? Wilt thou not? Then Clarence, do it thou.
By heaven, I will not do thee so much ease.
Oh, God, Clarence, do. Sweet Clarence, do thou do it.
Didst thou not hear me swear I would not do it?
Aye, but thou usest to forswear thyself, 'twas sin before, but now 'Tis charity, why wilt thou not? Where is that devil's butcher, Richard, hard-favoured Richard? Richard! Where art thou? Oh, thou art not here. Murder is thy alms deed. Petitioners for blood thou ne'er putst back.
Away, I say, I charge ye, bear her hence.
So come to you and yours as to this prince.
Where's Richard gone?
To London, all in post, and as I guess, to make a bloody supper in the Tower.
He's sudden, if a thing comes to his head. Now march we hence, discharge the common sort with pay and thanks, and let's away to London and see our gentle queen, how well she fares. By this I hope she hath a son for me.
Scene 6, the Tower of London.
Good day, my lord. What, hard at your book?
Aye, my good lord. My lord, I should say rather, 'tis sin to flatter. Good was little better. Good Gloucester and good devil were alike, and both preposterous, therefore not good, lord.
Sirrah, leave us to ourselves. We must confer.
So flies the reckless shepherd from the wolf. So first the harmless sheep doth yield his fleece, and next his throat unto the butcher's knife. What scene of death hath Roscius now to act?
Suspicion always haunts the guilty mind. The thief doth fear each bush and officer.
The bird that hath been limed in a bush with trembling wings misdoubteth every bush, and I, the hapless male to one sweet bird, have now the fatal object in my eye, where my poor young was limed, was caught, and killed.
Why, what a peevish fool was that of Crete, that taught his son the office of the fowl, and yet for all his wings, the fool was drowned.
Aye, Daedalus, my poor boy Icarus, thy father Minos, that denied our course, the sun that seared the wings of my sweet boy, thy brother Edward, and thyself, the sea, whose envious gulf did swallow up his life and kill me with thy weapon, not with words. My breast can better brook thy dagger's point than can my ears that tragic history. But wherefore dost thou come? Is it for my life?
Think'st thou I am thy executioner?
A persecutor, I am sure thou art, if murdering innocents be executing. Why then thou art an executioner.
Thy son I killed for his presumption.
Hadst thou been killed when first I didst presume, thou hadst not lived to kill a son of mine, and thus I prophesy that many a thousand which now mistrust no parcel of my leave, of my fear, and many an old man's sigh, and many a widow's and many an orphan's water-stained eye, men for their sons, wives for their husbands, orphans for their parents' timeless death, shall rue the hour that ever thou wast born. The owl shrieked at thy birth an evil sign. The night crow cried, a boding luckless time. Dogs howled, and hideous tempest shook down trees. The raven rooked her on the chimney top, and chattering pies and dismal discord sung. Thy mother felt more than a mother's pain, and yet brought forth less than a mother's hope, to wit, an indigested and deformed lump, not like the fruit of such a goodly tree. Teeth hadst thou in thy head when thou wast born, to signify thou camest to bite the world, and if the rest be true which I have heard, thou camest.
I'll hear no more. Die, prophet, in thy speech! This among the rest was I ordained.
Aye, and for much more slaughter after this. O God, forgive my sins and pardon thee.
What? Will the aspiring blood of Lancaster sink into the ground? I thought it would have mounted. See how my sword weeps for the poor king's death. Oh, may such purple tears be always shed from those that wish the downfall of our house. If any spark of life be yet remaining, down to hell, and say I sent thee thither. I that have neither pity, love, nor fear. Indeed, 'tis true that Henry told me of. For I've often heard my mother say, I came into this world with my legs forward. Had I not reason, think ye, to make haste and seek their ruin, that usurped our right? The midwife wondered, and the women cried, oh, Jesus, bless us. He is born with teeth. And so I was, which plainly signified that I should snarl and bite and play the dog. And since the hell shaped my body so, let hell make crooked my mind to answer it. I have no brother. I am like no brother. And when this word, love, which graybeards call divine, be resident in men like one another and not in me, I am myself alone. Clarence, beware. Thou keepst me from the light. But I will sort a pitchy day for thee. For I will buzz abroad such prophecies that Edward shall be fearful of his life, and then to purge his fear, I'll be thy death. King Henry and the prince's son are gone. Clarence, thy turn is next, and then the rest. Counting myself but bad till I be best, I'll throw thy body in another room, and triumph, Henry, in thy day of doom.
Scene 7. A palace in London.
Once more we sit in England's royal throne, repurchased with the blood of enemies. What valiant foemen, like to autumn's corn, have we mowed down, on tops of all their pride? 3 Dukes of Somerset, threefold renowned for hardly and undoubted champions. 2 Cliffords as the father and the son, and 2 Northumberlands, 2 braver men never spurred their courses at the trumpet's sound. With them the 2 brave bears, Warwick and Montague, that in their chains fettered the kingly lion and made the forest tremble when they roared. Thus have we swept suspicion from our seat and made our footstool of security. Come hither, Bess, let me kiss my boy, young Ned, for thee. Thine uncles and myself have in our armors watched the winter's night. Went all afoot in summer's scalding heat, and thou mightst repossess the crown in peace, that of our labors thou shalt reap the gain.
I'll blast his harvest if your head were laid, for yet I am not looked on in the world. This shoulder was ordained so thick to heave, and heave it shall some way to break my back. Work thou the way, and thou shalt execute.
Clarence and Gloucester, love my lovely queen, and kiss your princely nephew, brothers both.
The duty that I owe your majesty, I seal upon the lips of this sweet babe.
And that I love thee from whence thou sprangst, witness the loving kiss I give the fruit. To say the truth, so Judas kissed his master and cried all hail when he meant all harm.
Now am I seated as my soul delights, having my country's peace and brother's loves.
What will your grace have done with Margaret Reynard, her father, the king of France, hath pawned the Sicils and Jerusalem, and hither have they sent it for her ransom.
Away with her, and waft her hence to France. And now, what rests but that we spend the time with stately triumphs, mirthful comic shows such as befit the pleasure of the court. Sound drums and trumpets. Farewell, sour annoy, for here, I hope, begins our lasting joy.
The end.
Yay, bravo, everyone, bravo. Next installment tomorrow.
Oh, thank you, Paula.
Oh, no,
Well
thank
done.
all of you. This was a really tough one, and we galloped through it. So yay, excellent.
Good.
Yes, and thank you, Mark, for jumping in as a monarch. That was very, very kind of you, helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stephen didn't do that track very well.
Well, you know, he had a lot of them.
He had a lot of work to do in his
Track
spreadsheet.
of every role in
And
this thing
I'm
is pretty
hoping
difficult.
that had I been on duty, I'd have caught that. But
What a history. I mean, I've done most of these, and I'm really picking up a lot as they're done in succession, as we have. Really a lot that I wouldn't have otherwise randomly.
Yeah, it's very illuminating doing them in a row like this.
Alex, are you still there?
Yep, I think so. Yeah.
Have you ever watched Olivier's Richard III?
Good night, everyone.
Good night, David.
Night.
Night, David. I have, yeah.
Oh, yeah.